Good morning and happy Monday. Russ Clark with you here at Mortgage One Studios. A disclaimer, real quick. All content presented by the Russ Clark Show, including statements made by guests, commentators, and callers, reflect the personal opinions of those individuals and is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. These views do not represent the official position of Mortgage One Studios, its owners, employees, affiliates, or partners. Mortgage One Studios does not endorse, verify, or guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements made by third parties during programming. All right. Happy Monday. It's good to be back. The weekend gets, too long. Some of you may not agree with that. But I need to be doing something. And sometimes weekend doesn't do it. I got a story here on the weather, and I'll just tell you that it's I don't see it here in front of me, but 105 yesterday. It's going to be more of the same. This morning was in the 70s. Expect warm days. 107, 108 by next week. So it's getting warmer. Act accordingly. Protect yourself. And I don't have my weather report here. I got some other reports. Okay. I picked this one up just to emphasize the weather, and you got to be careful. A teen died at the Grand Canyon this last weekend. Really unfortunate. Wednesday, died on Wednesday. And Grand Canyon, as you go down the canyon, gets a little cooler, a little better. But he died on Grand Canyon's Bright Angel Trail. Beautiful trail. If you've never hiked it, you need to do it. Be careful. It goes down 3,000 foot from the canyon rim is where he was, but it goes a total of 5,000 feet if you go all the way down to the river. Yeah, 5,000 foot straight down. And then if you want to do it back, it's straight up again, obviously. It's 9 miles. You got 9 miles round trip. Yeah, 4.5 miles to go down, 4.5 miles to come back out. And this young man, 18 years old, was going to do it in one day. Now, the park rangers, the Park Service, recommend you don't do that. I remember when I was hiking Telegraph Pass, I was getting ready for the Grand Canyon because we were going to go hike that. And there was like guys in their 70s, like three of them, 70s, early 80s, hiking that Telegraph Pass 2-3 times a day, going crazy. And they did rim to rim, straight through, from one end to the other, all the way down, all the way through, all the way back up. And apparently the park ranger stopped him a few times, or he said, we recommend you don't do this, Ray. I guess they won't tackle you, but they're worried about your safety. And of course, their paperwork if something happens. This kid died. He had hiked past Havasupai Gardens at a rest stop and campground that already requires a 3-foot descent from the canyon, and that's according to the Grand Canyon Trust. Rangers launched a helicopter rescue operation. They found the teen about 30 feet below the trail. He was in a remote area. They attempted life-saving measures, were unsuccessful. The teen had intended a complete round-trip day hike from the south rim of the canyon to Colorado River. That is the Bright Angel Trail, which is the according to the Park Service, the most popular hiking trail in the canyon. Although it recommends against hiking it all the way to the bottom and back in a single day, not on their list of great things to do. But destination below has Sufapai Gardens are not recommended day hikes due to the long distance, extreme temperatures, and approximately 5,000 foot elevation change each way. The site also advises hikers to check with their park ranger before attempting to hike to have Sufapai Gardens and back in the same day, as that trek alone is 9 miles and takes between 6 and 9 hours. There's a lot of people that probably would be very fit and able to do that. And then there's a lot more that think they are. Heat illness can occur when a person is exposed to extreme heat, the most serious of them, heat stroke, medical emergency that can cause disability or death. When someone experiences heat stroke, their body temperatures rises rapidly, potentially reaching 106 degrees. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's reached 106 degrees and talked about it. Uh, and they can get that in as little or 10 or 15 minutes. They can reach 106 degrees in a little of 10 or 15 minutes and is unable to cool itself down. Symptoms of heat stroke can include confusion, slurred speech, loss of consciousness, profuse sweating, and seizures. So it's warm out there. Stay hydrated, stay cool. Um, you know, don't push yourself too much. And this poor kid, don't know anything about him. They're not releasing his name or anything at this point. They haven't notified next of kin at the time of the article. I'm sure they have by now. Fire danger. Yeah, I'm gonna cover it all first thing. Fire danger also, southern Arizona, including Phoenix metro area until 11 p.m. due to critical fire. Now that was Saturday. Sunday, the same thing. Winds up to 20 miles an hour. Sunday, of course, I was yesterday, 105 degrees, as I mentioned. And then today, it's going to hold. It's going to be the same. And by late next week, into next week, highs 107 to 108, as I said. Across the high country, wildfire danger remains the primary concern. A red flag warning continues for northwestern Arizona until 8 p.m. Another red flag warning is scheduled from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday from much of northern Arizona, including Flagstaff, Prescott, and a fire weather watch remains in effect for portions of northern Arizona on Monday and Tuesday as critical fire weather conditions may continue. So do those first responders a favor, be real careful. Watch your open fires. Don't throw cigarettes out your windows. All those things. Be cautious. We don't need to be California. I mean, we get our share of fires, nothing like they have, but be careful with your health and with the fires. Both. We want you to come back. The election in California, most of you already know, or most of you suspected, that California was going to be not secure, have the appearance of fraud. Don't know if it exists or not, but most people are claiming it does. And that's because all their laws, their rules leave it open to fraud. Um, if you were going to design one that would be easy to fraud, the best way to fraud, then you would look at California's design of voting and say, that would be the best design to get away with fraud. Now, when Spencer Pratt was way ahead after the first day, there was some celebration going on a little bit. And many commentators, I wasn't one of them, but many did, said, wait a minute, it's not over. These guys are going to be getting ballots for the next weeks. They're going to be coming in for next weeks. And unlike other states, I mean, most states have to have it in. Florida does the best job. They're done, announced on the day of election. They're done with everything. The mail-ins, all of it. Wrap it up, put a bow on it. Let's get started on the next one and start planning for the inaugurations. California has been a mess, and it's gotten worse. And it's gotten to be a joke. And something I didn't know, until I read this article. When Gavin Newsom was elected of California, it took a day or 2 days after the election to close it up. A day to 2 days. Gavin Newsom changed that. Gavin Newsom put in a lot of stuff to change California election laws, where now it could take 3 weeks to a month. It's just ridiculous. You can register to vote on the day of. You don't need an ID to vote. You can mail your ballot on the day of the election, and it has to be postmarked that day, and it doesn't matter if it comes in 7 to 10 days later. They're gonna count it. So it leaves open where they're counting all along. They know what the tallies are. They know who's behind and by how much and how many votes it would take, and it's open for fraud to make that up. Donald Trump suspects there is fraud. He's claimed that he thinks there's fraud, and there's some people working on it right now that are looking into it. But we've had terrible luck with looking into elections. The courts, as you know, when Trump lost in 2020, there was a lot of evidence taken to the courts to show that, look, this was fraudulent. All these things happened fraudulently, and not a single case, really. I don't think any of them were heard. I mean, the ones from Giuliani and all, like 50 of them. They were just dismissed on lack of standing. Lack of standing. That means we're not going to look at the evidence. We're not going to make a ruling on the evidence. The case is over, and just throw it out. Now, the left will tell you that they won all those cases. Well, technically, it ruled in their favor. Now, what they did, I don't know, they didn't really win. I wouldn't count it as a win. There was no evidence. There was no testimony. People say it just shows there was no. It was the cleanest election ever, and all that doesn't show that at all. It just shows that the court system wasn't going to hear anything. My understanding is some changes have been made. We'll see. We'll see that at least there'll be hearings. There'll be court trials. You know that somebody will bring something up that's obviously fraud and bring it to a judge, and a judge will look at it. Versus in 2020, they didn't look at anything. It's just all no standing. If the person running sees fraud, can document fraud, and they're harmed by it by not getting the win, if that's not standing, what is standing? Standing being, you have a reason to vote. You were harmed by it or infected by it. You have to have standing. I don't know. Well, same thing's going on in California right now. It's not a surprise that Pratt being way ahead didn't last. Nithya Roman has passed him now, and at the very beginning, she was down. I don't have the numbers here. I think it was like 30. Was it 35 for Bass and 28 for Pratt and 22 for Roman? Something around that. That's if not exact. That's close. I don't have them in front of me. Well, Bass didn't really move up in the percentages. Roman did. She moved right up past Pratt. Well, at one time Pratt was at 30. She moved right up past him. And it's just amazing, right? Just amazing. She came from that far back, hundreds of thousands of votes, and just we'll just pass you on up because we got all these late ballots coming in. One of them was delivered by helicopter. I understand. I don't know why that was, but they come in without chain of custody. Gavin Newsom changed it all. And I know it's bringing a lot of concern, and I'm reading a lot about it this morning. I didn't want to look at it over the weekend. I wanted to have a better weekend. We could all see what was happening. They're still counting ballots, by the way. California's worse than Yuma. Yuma had a bad year. I mean, the last election in Yuma was horrible. We did not do well. Our county supervisors, I think, are supposed to do a better job this November. We will see. And somebody's got to. We can't become California. California's count often extends beyond election day. Not often. It's way beyond. Because every active registered voter receives a mail ballot. I don't know if you know that, but in California, you don't ask for a ballot. Governor Newsom decided you needed one, so he's going to send it to you. And then anything mailed back by election day, postmark, has to be counted, and it can take 10 days. Doesn't matter. Let's talk to Andy. Good morning, Andy.
Morning, sir. How you doing?
Doing well.
Listen, I'm just hoping that the state of Arizona pre-checks all their machines to make sure the ballots actually fit into the slot.
Technically, I mean, they do go out and do a test on every machine. They have to and sign off on it. Secretary of State gets a copy of it. Sign off on it and do a test ballot. And I've sat through those before. We actually run some test ballots through and then check that they came up with the right numbers and all that stuff.
Well, but the test ballot, all those ones that you used to do the test, came out of the same box, not the box they had in Eastern Maricopa County, where all the Republicans live.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Somebody changed something up. You're not supposed to
No,
touch anything. Everything's supposed to be the
they
same
changed
afterwards.
the font size.
Yeah.
They changed the font size
Yeah, nothing.
when they printed.
And that's completely against all the rules. But nobody goes to jail, Andy.
No, of course not.
Nobody gets a fine. They just say you shouldn't have done that, but it's okay.
Well, but yeah, let's remember who is in charge of the voting in that election.
Ultimately,
wait a minute,
yes,
that's the governor now.
Well, Secretary of State actually, but the governor,
and that's who we have as a governor now.
Well, it's being held. I mean, the Democrats are running the show, so
yeah,
we got to worry about that. But Newsom changed it to even make California worse than it was. That you don't need any ID.
You have to work pretty hard to make California worse than it was. But he must have took a side job to get that done.
I guess so. I didn't realize when he was elected, it took only 1 to 2 days to get through the process. Now it could be 7 days to a month.
I like Florida. Just go ahead at 7 o'clock. Oh, here's your winner.
Yeah.
See ya.
Well, the reason the Democrats do it, and they stand by it, they call it because we want to be inclusive. We want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. Every vote counts. We got to get every one of them in. Even the illegal ones count. We just count them all.
Well, welcome to Californication.
And they don't take dead voters off the rolls. See, if you take people off the rolls, then you don't have enough room to cheat. You got to keep the rolls high artificially to make sure if you stuff some ballots in there, there's enough voters to represent.
What state was it where they were having 120-year-old people vote?
I don't remember which state that was, but there were cases of that.
I thought it was Illinois. I'm not sure, but Illinois is rampant for voting crime.
Yeah, there were cases. Yeah, Illinois has been crime city for a long time. Teapot Dome scandal. You're not old enough to remember that. But,
No, but it is like I say. They don't call it the Windy City because the wind blows through it at 100 miles an hour.
Exactly right.
It's the hot breath off all the lying politicians.
Yep, exactly right. That's what it's.
That is why they call it the Windy City because all the hot air coming off the politicians.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But this is what we got now. Apparently, there's some investigations going on right now, and the United States government, the federal government, has asked for some investigations or whatever, which they're allowed to do according to rules and regulations. And the state of California says, nope, you're not allowed to look. So they have to go to the Supreme Court to enforce the rules that are on the books because California wants to hide it. They don't want them to look.
Well, their judges in California think that they're almighty.
We can do what we want. Yeah. And
we're going to do what we want until you come and force us not to.
Right. Unfortunately.
I try not to drive across the bridge.
But the Supreme Court has an opportunity to get involved in the next day or two. We'll see what happens. But the courts don't like touching it. The courts have, what we've seen in the last decade, they just stand back and say, we don't want to look at it. It's not.
My name's Jess. Leave me out of this mess.
Take it back to the legislature or something. I don't know. I don't know what's going to take to break this up. Don't know.
Well, you got to look at it this way. But I'm talking about the local, the regional federal judges. How do they get to stay in office? I mean, that's what scares me.
But they do get to stay in office. Judges have leeway to do those things. And I don't know who throws a judge out. I mean, I haven't seen that happen yet. We've had some outrageous judges going after Trump. And there's been questions on whether or not they should be thrown out of office. But I haven't seen that happen.
Well, some should probably be indicted for, being involved in the engagements that they're doing with the Democrats.
Maybe. There's really just a handful of judges that are go-to for the Democrats. You keep seeing the same judge over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, they put in there who they want, and I think I'm not sure who puts them in. Like I was listening to a show the other day, and the lady says, "Let's make them all elected officials, not appointed officials. Let's make them elected officials. That way we know who we got and where they're coming from."
Well, municipal judges are elected.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different than federal.
Yeah, exactly right.
She said the same thing. Municipal judges get drawn in.
Our Superior Court judges are elected also here in Yuma. Not the federal though. Federal judges aren't.
Yeah, federal level is the ones we worry about. I'd trust a Superior Court judge quicker than I would, a federal judge.
Here's what I'm really
Because
disappointed. I'm
Go
disappointed
ahead.
about Spencer Pratt though, because we're going to miss so many great commercials. He
Not
was
really. I mean,
he was the best.
you get, yeah, it's all fun.
It's just a shame that the system is so rigged. It's horrible, allegedly rigged. But
I know there ain't no allegations about it. It's a fact.
um,
I mean, we got proof of what they've done, and they can't do anything about it, or they won't. Which
yeah,
is
they're
they won't do
using
anything
they're
about
using NGOs to harvest, man, and that's legal now. Gavin Newsom made it legal to harvest in California, ballot harvesting, and they got these NGOs out there doing it. And NGOs generally, I mean, they quite often work on government grants. Government gives them grants to get the vote out. So they do. They go out and they get paid
it.
by
Go
the
out and
government to go out and
manufacture the votes.
yeah.
Well, see, now you're saying they can. It's legal to do that, so they can go out on the street, find a guy without an ID, and say, "Register to vote and vote this way," or just register to vote and put your name right here and sign this. We'll take care of the rest.
I don't
of
know
it.
if registration needs an ID or not. I'm not sure, but I do know that voting you don't need an ID.
Well, I mean, they say same day registration and vote. I mean, if they're letting you vote without an ID, then why not just say, put Frank John Doe on there, number 3, sign it,
Yeah.
and we'll fill out the rest.
Well, this thing has to be completed by July 2nd. Isn't that something?
Great.
And the primary ended on June 2nd, so it's a full month. They have a full month to tinker with this thing.
Oh, they're going to bend it and break it.
Kind of great. Okay, good for Gavin Newsom. I mean, he set it up so his party would never lose. It's a one-party state now.
Oh, let's just wait for the big earthquake.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of earthquakes, did you see any of the film on the Philippines?
I heard about it. It was like a 7-9 or
7.9.
Wow.
And at that one volcano, I think they said it was almost an 8.
Yeah, I saw a couple pictures. I didn't watch any video or anything, but yeah, it looked like not the place to be. I'd rather put up with California's elections than try to sit through an earthquake.
Well, the problem is, those are volcanic islands. That's how they were made. And they got that one big volcano. And I guess it's been about 20 years now since it buried 3,000, 4,000 people when it exploded.
Yeah.
So,
well,
let's just wait for
same with Japan and Hawaii and all. I mean, they're all volcanoes. So, they're due, some of them, for another one. Never know. Which means more landmass. Hawaii is still growing as the lava still runs into the water. They're gaining property, getting bigger.
I hear you. Well, anyways, I got to go to work, boss.
See you, man. Oh, you were working.
All
right, good, man.
Huh?
Bye-bye. See you,
yeah,
buddy.
I'm back working a little bit.
All right, bye-bye. As Andy. Sounded good. There was an article. Oh, well, let me call. Well, Gilbert tried to call in. I'll call him back and say hello to Gilbert this morning before I go on. Sometimes he's working, honeydews. He doesn't have a lot of time to talk. Uh-oh. I don't think he's going to answer. He's probably back working already. Well, he'll call me again. Article put out by Jeff Corriere. It was called "The Invasion of the Ballot Snatchers," which I kind of liked it, and it's an op-ed, but he talks about Pearl Harbor on December 7th did not attack California, and 8 decades later now, we have a different sort of attack, and that's by the ballot snatchers. I think that's hilarious, and it's probably it's funny. But he says that the California electoral process is a national embarrassment. 6 days after the election, ballots are still being counted. The result of California law allowing ballots postmarked by election day to be accepted for another week. In California, county elections offices must mail every registered voter a ballot starting no later than 29 days before an election. Voters can go to the polls in person on election day or mail in your ballot, return it in person or at any drop box or voting site in your county by 8 p.m. on election day or to your county election office. And then California does not require voter identification to register or cast a ballot. So you can register in California without ID. So I guess you could drive over there for the afternoon, register and vote, and then come back to Yuma. I'm sure there's going to be some law that says that's illegal. Don't do it. But how do they know? I mean, I'm just telling you, it leaves it open to fraud. I'm not suggesting you do it. It leaves it open to fraud. A secure electoral process would require that only citizens be allowed to register vote and that only those citizens with photo identification are allowed to cast a ballot. These are the essential elements of Save America Act, which we know didn't pass. Thanks to like Tom Tillis, the Turtle, I see Susan Collins and Murkowski, 4 of them. 4 Republicans joined the Democrats to say, we don't care about voter integrity. But I don't know why the Turtle, Mitch McConnell, I don't know why he turned like that. Tillis is just mad at Trump. In fact, Trump won't support him, so he didn't run again. Murkowski and Collins were just always like that. They're kind of different. Collins in Maine may just get elected again because it's liberal. Maine's liberal, so to have a Republican as a senator it's not a guarantee. You can't, it's not easy when you're in a liberal state. And Collins being a liberal Republican, I guess, fits that bill. I mean, she does bring numbers, but she will disappoint you. Same with Murkowski. Now, Murkowski's not in a liberal state. Alaska has a lot of good Republicans, but they also have a jungle primary, and I'll explain that. Let me talk to Gilbert this morning. Good morning, Gilbert.
Yeah, talk about a jungle primary.
Yeah.
So I guess the Attorney General is blocking the investigation of their elections in California.
Correct, and that's the Attorney General of California is because the Attorney General of the United States has requested it, which he's allowed to by law, and the Attorney General of California says nope, not going to do it anyway. So now it has to go to the higher courts. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. You know what? It's I never thought it'd come a day that we would do this, but one day at a time. Nikita Khrushchev said way back when, Russ, we will bury you without firing a shot.
Can you believe that Newsom got that done in just 2 terms, where he turned it into where it was like 2 days of fraud to where it's a month of fraud?
Exactly. Well, then again, it's who's in charge. When they went inside that office or that building, and all these tables were empty, and there was ballots.
Yeah,
lots of ballots there.
Yeah.
And you've seen them. That told you something right there.
Of course, I don't think they're cheating at the counting; they're cheating at the stuffing. So, so they're probably all the cameras on them. They're happy to show those. Happy to do that because all the ballots that got there don't have any custody, chain of custody.
Right.
And they don't have anybody that had an ID to either register or to vote. So the ballot to me is like, it doesn't mean anything. You can't verify anything. I don't even know what the federal government's going to go in and verify. They're going to verify, okay, I got a ballot here that was signed by somebody. Can you prove to me he was a citizen? No, we don't know who it is. It's just somebody that registered and signed all at once.
That one lady that was from South Dakota, I guess she talked to a reporter. She goes, I'm in South Dakota. I haven't been in California in so many years, and I got a ballot. Why?
Because she wanted to vote. But somebody investigated, like one of these Nick Shirley type guys, got a bunch of public information and went out to a empty lot that had an outhouse on it. And there were 26 registered voters assigned to that outhouse. So he took it to the registrars and said, look, there's got to be a mistake. You got 26 people assigned to an outhouse on a blank lot. And he says, homeless people are allowed to vote too. They don't have to have addresses. So there's no way to verify anything, Gilbert.
Right. So what's your solution to fix this?
Well, I think we get about 5 million people willing to cheat for Republicans, and then we'll have a ballot count in California that's double the population. It would be funny.
Right.
It's
No,
wrong.
serious,
I don't
serious.
really advocate that, but it would be funny.
No, I'm serious. What is the solution to this? I mean, they have that one tier political party now. It's not
Well,
a two-tier.
The solution is the SAVE Act.
Yeah, but
That would federalize the requirements to register, federalize the requirements for voting, which it needs
Well,
to be
federal-
cleaned up. We can't have one state the size of California gumming up the whole works for the rest of the country. It affects us all.
I understand it, but that's just for federal voting. I'm talking about state voting.
Well, that would be for federal and state.
Well,
The SAVE Act.
SAFE Act? Oh,
Wouldn't
okay.
be, it wouldn't be for local, probably. It would probably be, governors or mayors probably. You could still screw it up all you wanted, but federal and
Well, that's
state.
what I'm saying. Yeah, so I'm saying governor, governor and mayor. I mean,
Yeah.
can that really? It just I'm beside myself because there's a lot of honest people that really want to vote and really want a good government.
But how
Right.
frustrated is it going to be because their vote doesn't, they know it doesn't count. I mean, you're sitting out there
Exactly.
voting and it doesn't count because anybody can cheat as much as they want. So
Yep.
what difference does it make? And the people that are willing to
Oh.
cheat are going to win. And that's going to be the people that set it up like that.
You just did a Hillary Clinton, don't you?
What's that? What difference
Well,
does it
you
make?
said, what,
Well, that was about people getting killed.
Look,
So hers was a little more callous than mine.
but yeah, watching this and go, wow, I have a lot of family there, and talking to them, they were all happy and all that, but they all said the same thing. Let's see what happens in the end.
Yeah, they'll snatch it.
yeah.
It's the invasion of the
Yeah.
ballot snatchers. I kind of like that column. Yeah.
Yeah, but and they tried that narrative. They tried to get that to Arizona. What, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yes, absolutely.
So
It
Maricopa
failed.
wasn't good enough. They wanted Maricopa wasn't good enough. They wanted the whole state to be like Maricopa, and that's again, what has ever happened with that investigation with those 24,000 votes that were found?
I don't know.
Whatever became of it?
I don't know.
Exactly, Russ. We don't know.
Yeah.
How's it going to play out in this election?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what happened. We don't know anything, any prosecution, yada yada yada. So in this primary, because they're already saying Democrats going to win the primary.
Well, I know what they're saying. I hope we get something done. Obviously, we're not going to get it through the Senate right now, the SAVE Act, because the SAVE Act would fix things.
Yes.
It would make a requirement, and not one Democrat wants a SAVE Act. Not
And
one.
how many Republicans don't? How many Republicans don't want it?
4 in the Senate.
Yeah.
One because they're
Those are-
mad at Trump. That's Tillis.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
2 because that's just who they are. That'd be Collins and Murkowski.
Yep.
I don't really know. I don't know what's wrong with the turtle. I think he's just lost his mind.
Yeah. Well. Yep. But we got our own problems here in Yuma. They'll be
Always.
taking care of it.
There's always going to be,
Yeah.
because there's people involved. So there's always going to be stuff. But we need systems in
Yep.
place to make sure it doesn't get like California. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well. Yep. Well, anyway, that's my call for
Thank you,
today.
buddy. I
So,
appreciate you.
yeah.
Bye. As Mr. Gilbert, I'm glad he got through. I'm glad he did. Let me see. This starts off, it says Karen Bass had 38% of the vote. Pratt had 28. Councilwoman Rama had 20. And now she's passed Pratt, and Bass is down to 35. So Bass lost ground. So all the fudging went in on Rama, just so she could come in second, because second would put Pratt out of the election. Only the top 2 go. Bass is already secure. Let's just help the other lady. At least that's the perception. On the newly counted ballots, Rahman received 40% of the vote. Pratt got 18. No surprise there. Steve Hilton, running for governor, Republican candidate, was way ahead, and he currently is in second place. And here's his comments. Hilton said, California's election system, absolutely shameful for our state. Thanks to the Democrats in charge of our state, we have become a national and an international laughingstock. He pointed out that India counts over 640 million votes in a day. California not count less than 10 million votes in a month. If elected governor of California, promise to crack down on ballot mailing procedures and require that all mail-in ballots be received by election day. The late arriving ballots always favor the Democrats' candidates. Republicans have lost congressional seats in California many times in recent years due to the counting of late arrival mail-in ballots. And look, I agree with them, but I want to point out every vote counts. But the cutoff date should be set. It should be set just like it is in Florida. Every vote counts in Florida. Every mail-in ballot gets counted as long as it's received 1 week before election day. 1 week. It's early. So you got to have it in a week early. After that, sorry, it doesn't count, but every vote counts. You know the rules. And everything you do in life has a deadline. It's just real open-ended in California. I mean, but there is some point you can't come in 2 months later and say, I want my vote to count. It's too late. It's over. Another factor contributing to fraud in California elections is the allowance of election day voter registration. You literally can go down without an ID. Say, I live under the bridge. My name's Joe. And I want to register and I want to vote. And they'll let you. That's in the law. It's kind of ridiculous. To ensure proper voter verification, registration should be close to 30 days before election. I think most states are. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who's from California, said it helps the registrars to know who's going to vote and the candidates. California also permits rampant voter harvesting. It permits it. It became legal in 2016 and allows a third party to collect ballots and return them to a county elections official. Yeah, no chain of custody. You can go out and fill your trunk up, drop them off. You may even go home and steam some of them open first, but it doesn't matter. There's no chain of custody. California is one of 35 states that allow ballot harvesting. I can't believe it. 35 states. Craziness in the California election is drawing attention of the U.S. Department of Justice. Multiple investigations have been launched by Bill Silas, first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California. And he said, we will follow the evidence wherever it leads. He promised to prosecute any violations of federal law to the fullest extent. He blames California electoral delays on Governor Newsom. That's when he points out that only take a day or two when he was elected, and he changed it all. Elon Musk jumped in on it. You know, he used to be a California resident. He still has a lot of ties there. He's still got some business there. He says, when you combine no ID and mail-in voting, fraud is de facto legalized. In California, the entire nation is witnessing how elections should not operate. Ideally, votes should be cast in person on election day with voter identification and on paper ballots. There should be no mail-in ballots except for members of the military, the elderly, and sick who cannot vote in person, and other rare circumstances. All the mail-in ballots must be received by election day. Well, that's the way Florida does it. So California is open to schemes and fraud, but it's going to be hard. I don't know how you investigate it, to tell you the truth. I don't know how you investigate it. Yeah, this guy doesn't have an address. So what? He's homeless. It doesn't matter. No ID. So what? So it's going to, in our legal system, we don't have to have an ID. Even to register, you don't have to have an ID. We just trust every voter. Trust every voter. No voter's ever going to lie. It's ridiculous. Let's see, one of the callers. Why has Trump turned on Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, plus others. Epstein files, ? Musk made a comment about the files when he left, and it was not complimentary to Trump. No, he did not. He did. He made some comment about you're in the Epstein's file or something. I don't know. I mean, him and Musk were having a squabble, and Musk definitely did. It surprised me. It wasn't. He's mentioned in the Epstein files. There's no question. Because he's not mentioned in a negative way, but he's mentioned. As far as Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace, I'm not quite sure what the squabble is. But Trump has some squabbles with people. There's just no question about it. There's people going to stand up. Go up against him. There's no question about that. I don't know that's a negative. I think you could say that about everybody. It's not upsetting or anything, See, I got a lot of messages over the weekend. I glanced and I didn't check them all as thoroughly as I should have. I was doing other stuff this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and talk about, well, first off, let me talk about New York City for a second. And then I'll get into the Iran and Houthis and all the stuff that's going on right now. And it's going to be I'm always amazed by it. I don't know when it's going to end and when Trump's going to say enough. I don't know. It's frustrating to many people, kind of interesting to me, but it would be nice to have it over with. But anyway, New York City cancels the Knicks NBA Finals watch party. There's a watch party, and the Knicks are like 2 games away. I think 2 wins away from a championship, and they've been many years without any championship runs, like 27 years. They've been away from haven't had the opportunity to go to the championships. Now they're in it. So you can imagine that sets a lot of celebration stuff. So they have a watch party at the Madison Square Gardens because not everybody's going to fit in the stadium that wants to go. So you have overflow stuff like a watch party. You go into Madison Square Gardens, which would be kind of cool. If you can't afford a ticket into the game, and I don't know what those tickets cost, but that's probably outside my budget, I would think. It got canceled. Yeah, New York City canceled it. They're getting ready to host the San Antonio Spurs. It's game 3. They've already hid by 2-0. Well, the New York Police Department claims the party is off due to security for President Donald Trump visit and its massive Secret Service footprint, which is ridiculous. He goes to the Super Bowl, he goes to a lot of events, and Secret Service handles what they handle. But I don't think Mandami likes him, so I think, and Mandami's going to be there too at the Knicks game. So is President Trump. So the New York Police Department released a statement. There will be no watch parties outside of Madison Square Garden for Game 3 only. This was done fully in coordination with the Secret Service because of the president visit. We expect watch parties at Madison Square Garden to resume for Game 4. Now, Madison Square Garden pushed back a little bit. They said, look, the permit was denied by local city officials, not because Trump was attending. The permit for the Plaza 33 Game 3 watch party was denied by the city's permitting office in consultation with the New York Police Department. However, the White House will confirm that this is not about the president. We understand New York Police Department Commissioner is planning additional street closures around Madison Square Garden. City Hall said the New York Police Department point to Trump's appearance as the reason for the shutdown. And I think that's just like everything's Trump's fault, maybe. That's what the suggestion is here. I certainly don't have any inside scoop on that. But they're blaming Secret Service. Mayor Zoran Mandami is also going to be there, though reportedly won't be sitting anywhere near Trump. I think that's mutually beneficial. Friday's watch party got a little rowdy. Now, they had a watch party there at Madison Square Garden on Friday. And the comment is, when you combine a 27-year champion drought with too many overpriced IPAs, that's a beer, by the way, Bing Bong energy is bound to spill onto 7th Avenue. Still scrapping the outdoor gathering feels like an overreach by the city government that loves to micromanage. Instead of letting the streets bleed orange and blue outside the arena, fans are being told to scatter to local bars or Central Park. The Pure Cats killed the party, but if the Knicks go up 3-0, no amount of Manhattan barricades can contain the celebration. Probably true. They got a lot of venues to go to. It doesn't have to be Madison Square Garden. Every bar in that town probably has a game on. I don't know about Central Park. I don't know if there's a big screen playing in Central Park, but I'm sure the basketball fans are going to find a place to watch, even if it's not the Garden. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to go to Madison Square Garden. If that's a backup, I'd rather go there. All right, let's talk about Iran. More of the same, basically. It's just kind of getting predictable and kind of outrageous. That the ceasefire has included a lot of firing of ballistic missiles and drones and everything else. I mean, that's just part of a ceasefire nowadays, I guess. You have a ceasefire except when I want to fire something, and then we'll fire it. And the offensive firing has been all in Iran's favor. They don't like something, they'll fire ballistic missiles at neighbors, at Israel, or at battleships that the United States owns. And then say it too is self-defense. It's just gotten comical, except it's so deadly serious and dangerous that it goes on. But right now, Iran is upset with the Israelis for attacking Lebanon and not. So they decided to launch a bunch of them. Let's see. Israel targets. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. Well, let me start off with this. Trump is demanding Iran and Israel stop firing at each other. and I know Trump says he has total control of Netanyahu, and I think he obviously has some power because we're supporting Israel so much. But Israel's going to defend itself, and the Houthis have been firing at them, and they've gone back into Lebanon to stop it. On Monday, though, on Truth Social, Donald Trump wrote, Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting. That's the whole message. The Israeli Defense Forces announced that it attacked the Iranian defense systems. So I guess after these missile attacks, IDF did go in. The IDF completed a large-scale strike on strategic defense systems belonging to the Iranian terror regime. That's according to the Israeli Defense Forces. They posted that on X also. Recently, defense systems were deployed across Iran to restore the regime's capabilities degraded during Operation Roaring Lion. The strike led to the dismantling of these systems. So they're keeping an eye on Iran. And as we know, during Roaring Lion and Epic Fury, which was the United States version of it when both of them worked together, they took out a lot of, radars and defensive systems and all those kinds of things, as well as ability to build drones and stuff. But obviously, some of them are being replaced or repaired. And Israel went back and said, not so fast. But the Israel Defense Forces said they identified missiles launched from Iran towards Israel, activated the defense systems, alerted residents into affected areas, closed schools, directed civilians to enter protected spaces and over their noses. But that's a regular thing for them. They know how to do that. And they launched shortly after Israel confirmed strikes on targets in western central Iran, signaling the exchange between the two countries. And I'm sure that's to go after their defensive systems that were replaced after Roaring Lion. Israeli Air Force hit several targets at the petrochemical complex located in southwestern Iran. Mike Huckabee, Mike Huckabee is the ambassador to Israel. Mike Huckabee was the governor of, was it Oklahoma where he's governor? His daughter's there now, I think. I think it's Oklahoma. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but he's now the ambassador, which he's probably the right guy. He said Iran wants to incinerate America and Israel, and that the mothership of Satan is in Tehran. He said Iran fired missiles at Israel last night and early today. The missiles alerts sounded at 6 p.m. in Jerusalem. They were intercepted, thank God. Iran and its proxy agents of evil want to incinerate American Israel mothership of Satan is Tehran. I understand there were like 4 waves of ballistic missiles. One of them had like 9. They shot, or 8, 9 or 8. They shot down all but one, and one just went off course. They just didn't bother. It didn't come anywhere where it was supposed to go, I guess. But then there were supposed to be 4 waves. There was also drones and stuff too, so they were very active, very busy. And I don't see anything on this one, but the Houthis are getting involved too. And a lot of people, I mean, I keep seeing things about the Houthis like they're not really high tech or well organized, and a lot of stuff that they fire doesn't work. I don't know why, but I've heard that now. Saudi Arabia has gone in, and as well as Qatar has gone in to get the Houthis to calm down. They've gone in with kinetic strikes against the Houthis themselves. But you can't stop these guys. These guys' rhetoric is never going to stop. The Houthis right now have declared a total ban on Israeli ships as dual checkpoints crisis strokes supply chain nightmare. In other words, they're cutting off the straits there from the Red Sea, which that one's only 18 miles wide too. It is an airport. It goes right down there by south of Saudi Arabia, where Yemen is, and we had problems with them. And the United States has gone in there and bombed them a lot too in the past. Past year has done a lot of it, where the Houthis were just firing recklessly at ships. That was in late 23. Rebel forces attacked ships linked to Israel, what they thought were linked to Israel. Some weren't, or bound for Israel ports in and around Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Bab el-Mandeb. They framed the attacks as retaliation for the Gaza war. See, they're always retaliating. They attack Israel and then retaliate if you attack them back. And these are all proxies. They didn't attack Yemen until Yemen got involved and attacked them. So there's been an amazing amount of activity in the last year or two. So Brent crude jumped again by 5%. It was getting down there. It got down in the 80s, I think. Now it's 97.8, 97.83 a barrel. So it's like watching tennis. It's just back and forth. I get the impression the Houthis wouldn't be hard to really just destroy their ability, but I guess they rebuild. Here's what the terror group they claim is a terror group, and it is a terror group. On Monday, the Monday statements, that was earlier today. It's been Monday longer in Yemen. He said, first, we declare a complete and total ban on maritime navigation for the Israeli enemy in the Red Sea, and we consider all enemy movements to be military targets for our armed forces from the moment this statement is issued. Second, we affirm that we will meet escalation with escalation, and that our military operations will escalate in line with events, the battle, and in conjunction with the axis of jihad and resistance. Third, we affirm the right of our people and the peoples of our free nation to confront American Israel aggression, and that we will not stand idly in the face of the unjust siege imposed on our people and the peoples of the axis of jihad and resistance in Palestine, Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, and Iraq. All enemy attempts will fail, God willing, and our operation will continue as long as the aggression and siege against us and the axis of jihad and resistance continue. So they had 3 things. They're going to kill you, they're going to kill you, and they're going to kill you. Kind of like a normal Monday for the Houthis. They want to choke off that strait, which is the big thing right now, and that just reinforces that you can't let Iran choke off the Strait of Hormuz and start exploiting people that use it, saying, it costs you a couple $1,000,000 to get through there, because the Houthis would do the same, and China would probably do the same. I mean, other people around the areas where they can have ballistic missiles on a narrow passageway are going to say, well, I guess it's fair game internationally now, because up until this point, it has not been. Up until this point, there's international laws and international agreements by everybody that you can't do that. You can't just capture navigable seas, international waters, and claim them as your own. At least not until the Houthis and Iran said you can, and China wants to. I'm sure China's watching this very closely. I mean, they've been trying to get more in the China Sea, building islands out in the China Sea, building literally. I mean, there's dredging up coral reefs and piling them together to build the coral reefs up above the water line, so they can put airports on it. And that's what they've done. They've done a few of them, and then they claim, well, this is now territory of China because we say it is, and we built it for us, and you can't come within so many miles. You can't navigate these waters anymore. And the United States purposely flies over all constant bases to not let that ever take hold. But it is a tough spot for the United States and China right now. It's confrontational, I guess. China wants, well, the China Sea, the China Sea is much bigger than the Straits. They had to put islands out all over the place, and they want to choke it off. And the amount of goods and services, I mean, that travel through the China Sea is ridiculously huge. And cargo goes back and forth constantly through the China Seas. Taiwan, Japan, all that just goes through the China Sea, and China wants to own it all. So I'm sure they're watching, see if Iran can own the little Strait of Hormuz, we'll just take over the whole China Sea. And I know that's a concern. That's why they can't just say, okay, you can have it. And the Houthis want to join in too and say, well, we want this one. And they point out that Egypt is controlling the Suez Canal, in fact, charging admission, same as Panama Canal. Yes, those are man-made structures that require lots of maintenance, energy to operate with the locks and all that kind of stuff. Suez Canal and the Panama Canal, huge undertakings where lots of lives and labor and treasure went into building both of those, and there are payments in order to pay for ongoing maintenance concerns, ongoing issues. So yeah, that's internationally recognized. If you man-made a canal that didn't exist, sure. Other than that, it's all public waterways. Trump mentions in I think this is on X that Netanyahu has to listen to him. And there's been a lot of questions out there. A lot of people said that Trump only went to war because of Netanyahu. And Netanyahu, of course, the prime minister for Israel, that he had no choice because Netanyahu told Trump that. So, you hear a lot of condemnation of Trump because he bows down to Netanyahu and then they call him a king. They call him both. But Trump was speaking to the Financial Times, and he said that he ultimately controls the negotiations. He won't have any choice, speaking about Netanyahu. He said that he calls all the shots. Well, I'm sure they have some kind of agreement on all that. So I guess he calls all the shots mostly. I mean, Netanyahu and Israel have done some things, like recently, some things in Beirut that Trump came out on Truth Social and say, "Stop it, guys, both of you." Americans in Jordan. Why would you be in Jordan right now? Seek shelter because missiles, drones, and rockets are reported in Jordan. Reports indicated missile, drones, and rockets are in Jordanian space, according to the U.S. State Department. Seek overhead cover and shelter in place immediately. Remain indoors. Pay attention to local announcements and alerts. The embassy also said it would continue to review the situation and provide additional information as needed. The warnings came as the hostilities between Israel and Iran intensified with the missile strikes. And Israel orders hospitals to move operations underground. Well, that would be hard to do if you did that in Yuma, if you told the hospital, move operations underground. I don't think we have an underground. I don't think there's a basement at the hospital. I've been through it a lot, but I don't think I've ever seen the basement. And if there is, it's not going to be an operating room down there. Hospitals throughout Israel have been instructed to move operations to secure underground facilities and mobilize staff as part of a transition to emergency operations following missile attacks from Iran on Sunday. And maybe that's the future of all those hospitals in Israel. Is most of them build a lot of stuff underground, go down 6 stories. Yeah, it's probably safer. Transportation Ministry said buses across the country will operate at 75% of their normal service, so they are cutting back. United Kingdom Foreign Minister Yvette Cooper urged Israel and Iran to de-escalate on Sunday. I mean, that sounds like you're following Trump's lead, like they want to get engaged now. And I understand they are getting engaged militarily now. That United Kingdom is going to join in and make a presence. The resumption of conflict between Iran and Israel is in no one's interest. Both sides must show restraint and de-escalate immediately. Negotiations must continue towards a lasting settlement that we all need for peace and stability in the region and for the full restoration of global trade. I don't remember how many missiles and rockets have been fired by Iran after the ceasefire, but it's been a huge amount. Every time they see something that rubs them wrong, somebody's firing off missiles, drones, and it could be to any one of the countries. It could be anywhere. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, not Yemen. They're part of it. Iran's proxies, but and any of the neighbors, Turkey's even had hits. It's just crazy. I guess when they get mad, every one of the neighbors gets attacked. Every one of them. I don't understand, but apparently the neighbors do. I mean, they do. They're getting away with it so far. I keep hearing Jack Keane. I watch Jack Keane a lot. And he's a retired general that think that Trump is still on the right track, and that there's going to be something big happening. And we keep saying that it's going to happen. I don't know when. I know so many people that are frustrated that come on already. I had enough already. Enough of this stuff. And Trump's holding out for something. And I know part of it is the neighbors. He wants to prove to the neighbors that he's given every bit of the opportunity that he can. Every opportunity that he can. Iran's also closed the airspace around Tehran Airport. I didn't know it was up to Iran. I think that airspace space is kind of owned by the United States, isn't it? I mean, they don't have too much of the defensive stuff left, if any, except they did bring some in that Israel got rid of again. But I mean, I'm sure they have some shoulder-fired stuff. They've got some stuff there. They're still dangerous. That's how they shut down that F-15. Houthis has also launched attacks towards central Israel. I haven't heard anything about being shot down or anything. I don't think anything hit, but Houthis, I don't know if it was that big. They had a lot of structures underground also, the same as Iran, which they're a proxy of Iran. So they probably had the same engineers working on it where they hollow out a mountain and go down hundreds of feet to put missiles in. And then there's a elevator system that brings the missile to the surface, fires it, and then everything stays inside the mountain. Of course, the B-2 bombers can put a bomb right down that opening if they know where it is. And once you fire, they'll see it and they'll put that on the map, and they know where those are. And they can just bomb right down the chute. They're that kind of accuracy. And they've done that already in parts of Yemen. I don't know what they got left. But obviously they still had something left to launch because they launched some attacks. Well, I don't know exactly what they were, but they were launched some attacks. Israel confirmed strikes on Iran. They said they did it. They just come right out and said, yeah, it belongs to us. We did it, for those launch systems. for the surface to air missiles and all that. There was a nice video out there of some fireworks displays. If you get a chance to see it, it's probably worthwhile. It happened in Tennessee out on the highway. A trailer was loaded with fireworks and went into flames right on Saturday night. Pyrotechnics shooting all across the roadways. So it burned through the trailer. So it was exploding all over the thing. The Chattanooga Fire Department is put the video out there, and they showed the fireworks launching into the air and exploding in multiple directions. So they did close the interstate down, Interstate 95 or 75. I'm sorry, northbound near Olitewa. I think I got that right. Chattanooga Fire, Tricom, and law enforcement responded to a vehicle fire on the I-75. It involved fireworks that were going off in different directions. So I don't know what they did wrong. They put all those fireworks on a trailer, and I guess it just self-ignited somehow. Something happened, and it was a total loss. It said that every firework was engaged, everything on that trailer. So somebody lost their celebration fireworks as well as the trailer. I mean, it didn't do any good to the trailer. No injuries were reported despite the scene, but I thought I read somebody was burned. No, I guess I got that. That's from another story then. And it's a volunteer fire department. It was outside the city limits, so the volunteer fire department got involved, and they got to go to that one. And one of the lanes was opened shortly after it started, because both north and south were closed to begin with. Vehicles traveling northbound in the southbound lanes and used the route to shuttle water to crews battling the flames. The southbound side of the interstate reopened relatively quickly. Northbound lane remains closed as they're looking at hot spots and picking up pieces of a trailer, I guess. It takes a while. Nice video. So, yeah, it happened at night, so it was nice. If you don't get to see many fireworks. I saw a display like that once at the country club years ago, back in the 90s, I think. I think it was in the 90s. I was out at the 4th of July celebration there, and they had a private guy that was doing the fireworks. He had a pickup truck, a white pickup truck sitting there, where he had all the fireworks in the pickup truck as he was loading the mortars and setting off fireworks. Somehow a spark went into the side of the pickup truck, and it started setting off. I mean, it was a huge display. All of us, it was rapid fire going off. Everybody running for cover. And that truck had holes burned all through it. Yeah, it destroyed that truck. Nobody was hurt. Everybody got away. But I started. I was running to it with a friend, and you could see silhouettes of people in front of the explosions. You just didn't know how close they were, but nobody got hurt. Thank goodness. Nobody was hurt, but it was quite the display, quite the adrenaline rush. Actually, it was all good. Donald Trump has made some appearance at Meet the Press this weekend. Interviewed by Kristen Welker in Wisconsin. It didn't go well. I guess Kristen and I watched a lot of it. She was a kind of aggressive, and I'll tell you about it all and some of the stuff that was said. But I watch interviews a lot, and I'm intrigued by interviews. I like doing interviews. I like learning about interviews on etiquette and a proper way to do an interview. The people that interviewed Trump sometimes would never interview a liberal the way they do Trump, the challenging. I mean, a lot of times you just got to go with what the people tell you. You can't say you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Otherwise, that's all the interview is going to be, is argumentative and stuff like that. But they don't seem to care with Trump. They would, and Kristen was involved in that. And she was challenging him on everything. And it is frustrating. I imagine for Trump, it gets frustrating after a while that you don't let him speak. You just challenge every word he says. Well, she repeatedly challenged his claims about election fraud in California because, all that's coming to light right now, that these numbers don't look right, that there's investigations going on, and they've already found some things that are suspect. and they were talking about that in his proposed anti-weaponization fund. That anti-weaponization fund, which is not passed, it was about a $1.8 trillion money that would be set aside for people that are the victims of lawfare, that unjustifiably have been singled out, to be, as a political payback or something. Well, and I guess it would be a panel set up to identify who they are. You can make a claim, but you have to, you have to show that it was a political move, which is interesting. Well, Trump cut the interview off. He doesn't do that very often. I can't think of another time. I mean, I'm sure he has, but I don't know. It's not very often. Well, it was getting heated, and he says, "You're a one-sided, crooked network. Sorry, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time." And I understand he dropped the microphone and did a mic drop or something, and then stepped on it. Person I listened to explain that said he thinks he stepped on it accidentally, but he definitely did try to throw it, drop it, whatever. The exchange escalated during the final block. Welker pressed Trump on a proposed $1.8 billion fund intended to compensate people who said they were targeted by the former President Joe Biden administration's alleged weaponization of government. Welker asked Trump whether he was moving away from the fund after acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said the administration would not move forward with it. And yes, that is what Todd Blanche said, because we're passing some resolution for the budget for the Border Patrol, and there was an amendment to put that on there, and there was some Republican resistance, so Todd Blanche said he would move away from it in order to get that legislation through. So she questioned Trump, says, "Just to be clear, you are backing off the fund completely, as your acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, has said, or you are looking for another avenue to revive the fund." Now, Trump is not going to expose his plan, his actions all the time, especially that. He's going to keep that close to the vest, I would imagine. And he kind of said so in his statement. His statement was, "People have been hurt so badly by radical left lunatics that work for the Biden administration and Sleepy Joe. They're vicious, they're violent, and what they did to people, and of course they went after me more than anyone else." So Welker interrupted and said, "So are you looking for a way to revive it?" So he said, "Personally, I supported the idea, but acknowledged that it would need approval. If it was up to me, I'd pay them the kind of money they deserve. So me personally, I think the weaponization fund is a great idea, and so do many other Republicans. You have to get it approved." And later he remarked about the Biden officials. He says, "I love the idea because people like you, the fake, dirty press, the crooked press, people like stupid Biden, he's not smart enough to know what's going on. But people that surrounded his beautiful, resolute desk in the Oval Office, what they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people." Well, Wecker pushed back on the claims that the president had no evidence. He says, "Just to be clear, there's no evidence of what you're saying." And Trump says, "There's a lot of evidence. Listen to me. There's tremendous evidence. There's nothing but evidence." And Trump said, "The election was rigged. It was a dirty election. It's what's happening again right now in California." And Trump says, "All I have to do is look. They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked. And Meet the Press is crooked. Your elections are crooked. You are crooked. And ABC and CBS and CNN." So that's Walker tried to keep it going after that. And of course, he decided he was going to end it. And Welker said, "Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin." And Trump says, "I sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press, because you know what? A country could never be great with a dishonest press." So I guess he was a little more direct than he normally is. And, that's when he walked out, called it quits, Had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time. That's great for the present. I'm gonna take a break real quick. I don't have any commercials yet. Eventually we'll start operating like that in the long run, but we'll be right back. See if I can get up what I need to. Russ Clark back with you, Mortgage One Studios. I even I took a second to talk to Derek Egbert, the guy that operates, runs this building. He's in already. It's only 7:30 or 7:21, I guess to be exact. But he's already up and about. The phone lines are open 928-941-0304. See, I got to store another one on California. Let me skip that. Oh, Yeah, this one's fun. The federal lawsuit seeking to block the UFC Freedom 250. That is a fight that is going to be on the White House lawn. A professional fight with Dana White and all that kind of stuff. The UFC, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of it, but the stage has been being set up for quite a while now. It's been a few weeks that they've been setting that stage up. It's very big. It's huge. It's a big archway of metal that's taller than the White House. For the lights and the cameras and all that kind of stuff to cover the ring. And there's going to be thousands of people that are on the White House lawn, but most of the people are going to be nearby in one of the parks. The parks are going to be televised. I mean, it's going to be on big TVs and stuff to be able to see it, and it's all going to be free. I mean, those things are going to be done as part of the Freedom, the 250th anniversary and all that. And they're going to have an actual UFC fight going on, which I think is amazingly good. But there's lawsuits trying to stop it right now. And as for me, I'm assuming that's all part of that whole anti-Trump, keep him tied up in court constantly to keep him off balance, which I don't think is working for him. But they do. There's a federal lawsuit against the National Park Service and the Department of the Interior. They're seeking an emergency injunction to stop the UFC event scheduled for the White House South Lawn. They just want to stop it. According to the lawsuit, the organizers ignored federal permitting rules, which I somehow doubt. They skipped environmental reviews and triggered conflict of interest concerns. Well, I'm sure they're going to imagine the conflict of interest because apparently the UFC octagon on the White House lawn had to clear environmental hurdles. Well, apparently it didn't. They're under some umbrella, and it'll get to that anyway. But construction continues on the South Lawn right now, ahead of the match, because there's a lot of things to be wired and run. Lights, camera. We do them. We did an event here. I did not set it up, but I watched it being set up at the Civic Center right there, out on the ball diamond where the ball diamond used to be. And it's an amazing amount of work to get all that set up, all the lights, the cameras, the sound, and the whole bit all set up. It took a couple days. Well, the White House is bigger. It's taken weeks to get it set up. It's a bigger deal. I mean, this is cranes, not just some guys lifting, hoisting it up. The event is being promoted as part of the America's 250th birthday celebration. And yes, the plan is to stage UFC card on the White House lawn. UFC card meaning a sanctioned fight that will count. The problems start with hosting the fight in front of the executive mansion, according to the lawsuits. The plaintiffs argue the White House South Lawn and nearby federal property are subject to strict rules that generally prohibit commercial structures and private sporting events without environmental review and congressional approval. I see how they put in there, they generally prohibit, which is pretty weak to put down. Organizers have reportedly relied on special exemption tied to the America 250 anniversary celebrations, which apparently they have that special exemption because it's a celebration. So they're saying that this is also part of the celebration. And I think that was the original way it was even sold and talked about, was that Trump came out and asked Dana White if he would do that for part of the 250 celebration, which they're doing. And they've already started the construction. In fact, it's probably the hard part's already done. I mean, now it's the wiring and testing and all that, I would imagine. The complaint alleges the event could financially benefit President Trump. I don't know how it could benefit President Trump and several of his associates, including Dana White and Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison. Well, I know to get into the thing is free. They're not charging for it. Maybe it's on air. But it doesn't matter about location. I mean, it was just on air. I mean, they own the rights to everything, but it's probably being televised, and there's probably some televised stuff that comes on. but I don't know that that's because they're using federal lands to do all that. It's just part. I mean, everything's going to be on air. The the celebration. I mean, all the celebrations at the White House are going to be on air. And I'm sure every time they have anything on air from the White House, somebody's profiting. I mean, the camera guys, somebody's making some money on it. I don't think Trump is. I would doubt. I don't know that he has anything to do with all that. Trump's reported purchase of up to $50,000 worth of stock in TKA Group Holdings. Now, if Trump has purchased stock, I'm sure that's in a blind trust. He doesn't control it. The publicly traded company of the UFC. Who knows when that was purchased? Probably some time ago. And the court filing argued that the event has less to do with commemorating American independence and more about promoting the UFC brand and celebrating Trump's 80th birthday. So they've already figured it out that this is about your birthday and about promoting a UFC. It has nothing to do with the 250th anniversary. I don't know how you can say that. It's nice that they all kind of lump it together. I mean, Trump's birthday and all that's close by, and it's nice to bring the UFC to it. That's just another headline. That's like saying that, when you run any event and you bring in a big singer, that singer gets paid. Well, the UFC is going to get paid also, just like anybody that comes on the White House lawn. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hey, happy Monday, Russ.
Happy Monday, sir.
Yeah, we got another full week to have fun in. So.
It is going to be a fun week.
Yeah, every day is a fun day.
I agree.
When I was working, I didn't say that, but when you're retired, just enjoying life, every day is a fun day.
Well, I think you enjoyed work. I've seen you work. You're whistling while you work.
Well, no, I really enjoy it because I like helping our candidates.
Yes.
And speaking of candidates, my 2 cents is going to be for Daniel Pateris. He's working very hard to get rid of Grijalva's daughter.
Yeah.
And so what he needs in Yuma is he needs some people to help him and me put up his campaign signs. What we need mostly is we need a truck to haul the 4x8 signs and somebody to help put them up. So that's what he's needing. So
well,
anybody that would like to help get rid of Grijalva and put up his signs.
Yeah. How many signs does he have, man?
Oh, I think I have probably 40 of them here at the house.
40 of them? All right.
Yes. And a lot of them are 4x8s, and they're a little bit boogers. And what I need them, we need to go from 32nd Street all the way to San Luis. And so, and if anybody would like to help us, I'm going to give you my telephone and give me a call. And we said, what we need is I call it elbow grease and a truck to haul the signs. I've got the wires all cut. I got the campaign signs. I got the rebar. Everything's all ready to go.
You just need need some manpower.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
So,
what's your phone number?
It's 928-210-4212.
That'd be a good cause, good reason. When do you normally do that early in the morning?
Yes. We work until about 10 or 11, then it's too hot. So,
yeah,
and
it gets warm. Yeah, we just had that 18-year-old die from heat stroke in the Grand Canyon. You don't want to get involved in that stuff,
Well, I don't want this 83-year-old man dying because of heat stroke either.
No, we don't need that. We don't need that. Have you started? I've seen a lot of Grijalva signs all over the place.
Yes.
She's been going nuts. So obviously she feels like she has to promote it because she's not a shoe-in. I kind of confused me because Raul Grijalva didn't put that much in. He always had a few, but he didn't do like this. She put a lot of money into it.
Yeah. The only problem is they're real hard to sign to read.
Well, for me they are. I didn't like it.
Well, for a lot of us they are. You can't read them from across the street.
Yeah.
The best sign I've seen out there so far was Michelle Pena. She has an excellent sign. It's red lettering and white, and it just stands out.
Yeah, see it from a distance. I'll have to take a look at that one again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of signs out there now, man. It's getting heated. The street corners are packed.
Well, I just finished up Mayor Nichols signs, and what we tried to do with those, we just put them in places where there were no other signs, but people are going to have to see them. When you go put 5 or 6 signs up on a corner, you don't see it. You just see signs. You don't see
I
nothing else.
completely agree. I would much rather just do them in between the corners. So
that's what we're doing.
Where it stays kind of alone, kind of like not so crammed up. Because these corners will have 15 signs on it, no problem. A lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
put a lot on. I put them on 24th and 4th, but I wanted to, I guess in the military, I wanted to secure that corner for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so
you 24th and 4th.
You start early, huh?
Yeah, well, we've been putting up starting at 8. I don't mind starting at 7. I don't mind starting at 6. But
yeah,
and it's really not hard work. I don't use the electric hammer anymore because I can't pick it up.
Okay.
So what we use is we use a 3/8 cement drill. I drill a hole in the ground with a Ryobi drill, and then we take our pounder nail. The rods go right in very easily.
I still like that, the hammer. I still use it.
I do too.
Okay.
I'll
pick it up.
Well,
I can't help you in the morning. I'm on the radio.
Well, I know that. So, well, I'm not really asking you to help because you do so much for Hume anyway, and where you're at does a better job than out there. And I think it's time for other people to step up and give us a hand.
Sure. Yeah, we need to find somebody.
Yeah, there people. There's quite a few people who want to help. One lady called me; she's ready to help, but I said, you know what? Yard signs you could do, but I don't really want you out there helping me. This lady was 65 years old.
Wow, that's nice. That is nice.
Yeah. So anyway, if anybody would like to help us, I'll give my telephone number. Again, it's 928-210-4212. And we'd appreciate the help. Daniel would sure appreciate it because he's got a pretty hard battle ahead of him. So
he does. I mean, I just talked to him. He's upbeat as ever and out there working hard. He's never stopped for like 4 or 5 years.
No.
He's just kept going.
So
yeah,
that's why human need to step up and help him.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I support my president 100%. And I think you're right. All the fraud going on in California is horrible. And can the President Trump, could he pass an executive order that there are, just make voting one day and get it over with?
No, I don't think so. But if he could, he would. I think we need it. And you look at all these countries that have that are very successful. I know one of the articles I read said India has 650 million people all vote on the same day, all paper, and they have the total at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it just cuts down on the fraud, doesn't leave open to anything. It's all done like right now. And there's no time to gauge it and say, well, who's ahead so I can put some extra violets in there or something. You don't have that. You don't have the time.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, man. It's going to hit the ground and you accept the results.
The Democrats have got that cheating down. They got it perfected pretty good on how to cheat.
Yeah. So it's an international embarrassment. I mean, here we are, the most powerful country and all that, and we cheat on elections.
Yeah.
And we stretch it out for weeks so that we can get it done right. Yeah, the cheating done right. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very crazy. But I will stay right here and enjoy my life in the United States.
Oh, yeah. America. Yeah, but we have to fix it, and it can be fixed.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. All right, Russ.
Thank you, buddy.
You have a very good day and have a good weekend.
Take care, sir. I will.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr. Carl. Looking for help if you can help him. I'm a little tied up here on the show. Let me see. I had a listener tell me, sent me a note, said Iran signed the nuclear proliferation treaty and Israel had not. And is that, okay, let me see. Wonder if it hasn't signed because if they do, then they open themselves to inspection. Another could be that they could not receive military aid from us if they have nukes. Israel should not be getting money from us. We have given them over $350 billion since the 80s. They should defend themselves with their own money. They have a right to exist, but what makes them so special? don't care much for Meet the Press, but Trump is partially responsible for the way they treat him. He embellishes too much. Okay, Trump embellishes. You're right. Well, I don't know what too much is, but I think it's well known he embellishes. Difficult to tell when he's being truthful. If Gutierrez is running again, what's the point? We need someone like Ruth McClung again, someone who good in public and can debate forcefully. It's not Gutierrez. Maybe. I mean, yes, Ruth McClung. She spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time with her on speaking skills. I mean, she was a rocket scientist, smart, and Gutierrez is too. I've not spent any time with Gutierrez at all. He hasn't asked me to run through it, but I think he could use a little polish. But it's a strong guy, no question. It's a very strong guy. As far as Israel signing the nuclear proliferation treaty, now Israel has nukes. I think it's well known that they have nukes. I don't think that's in question. Somehow it's not headlined, but it's not. I don't guess. And are you talking about the one under Obama, the nuclear? Because they haven't signed it under Trump, the nuclear, but it was a joke under Obama. And then they didn't abide by it anyway. They didn't allow inspectors, and they were not supposed to enrich uranium, which they were, and we know they were. They said they were, and they said they have it enriched. I mean, that NPT, you say they signed it, big deal. They signed it knowing that it was a lie. And Israel gets military help because they're our ally, and they've helped us a ton. They're a small country, 15 million people, and their military is stronger than Germany's. They just are the best at it, and they've helped us a ton. Should they exist? Yeah, they should. Do they have a right to exist? Yeah. They're one of the few allies we have, although we're getting more allies. We have hopefully the Saudi Arabia and some of the United Arab Emirates, and they're buying stuff from us also, planes from us. Israel's the best at it, though. I guess they're best trained and all. But Gutierrez is very good at walking up to doors, knocking on them, walking into business, talking to people. He's well received, well done. Gutierrez is an aggressive guy. It's a tough district. It's a tough one. It's almost all. It's heavily Democrat. I don't want to embellish either. It's heavily Democrat. Walt's administration. Report came out on them. They've been investigating. I say the federal government has been investigating Minnesota and what went wrong there and why they've been failing. And by failing, meaning that the fraud is way beyond norm. I mean, there's a little fraud everywhere. I guess people steal, people do things wrong. But in some of the places, like in Minnesota, it was just crazy big. And that just means that the checks and balances were gone, that the state didn't do it. So they looked into it, and they looked into Tim Walz about, him as governor and what they did. Well, this article said they failed for years to act on warnings about fraud in the state's social service programs, allowing hundreds of millions of dollars in confirmed or alleged losses and placing billions more at risk. Walt's administration had the power to stop the fraudulent payments. They were receiving federal nutrition and Medicaid funds, but the state repeatedly failed to act. And then officials raised concerns, and this after officials raised concern, and they just didn't act. And this is a 205-page final report that it was released by the House Oversight Committee on Monday. And I'm assuming that was today. And I guess a lot of this we can see it, but they went through all the interviews and talked to them and all that. And congressional investigators were concerned about potential racial discrimination. I mean, that's what Waltz said. The concerns about potential racial discrimination, that's why they didn't check. They didn't want anybody of Somalian descent to say, well, you're just doing this because I am black or I'm a racial minority or something. So they just said, yeah, they just let it go, which is so ridiculous. It's crazy, but that's what they came up with. The Waltz administration's decision to continue paying providers suspected of fraud. So they were suspected of fraud, according to testimony, and they just continued to pay them anyway. The committee also spoke to nearly 30 whistleblowers. 30, that's a lot. When you have 30 whistleblowers, that means everybody around you probably knew what was going on, some of whom accused Walt's administration of retaliation against state employees for sounding the alarm about potential fraud. The report reads, fraud warnings were elevated to the most senior levels of the Minnesota state government. Meaningful corrective action was delayed or avoided, and payments continued long after credible signs of fraud emerged. The committee found that Minnesota is estimated to have lost $300 million in stolen federal nutrition money intended to feed hungry children during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that as much as $9 billion in Medicaid billing may have been fraudulent. An estimated attributed to a federal prosecutor and distributed by Walt's administration officials. That's what they're working on right now, just in Minnesota, is that kind of money. Waltz allegedly aware of fraud associated with the now defunct Feeding Our Future nonprofit that operated a conciliation of fake meal sites. Fake meal sites. In other words, they didn't produce meals, they just billed you for the meals. As early as 2020, but payments continued flowing to the group roughly 2 more years. The oversight panel, after they were found out, they kept sending them money. The oversight panel also found that Waltz gave conflicting answers about when he first learned of the sweeping meal fraud. Federal prosecutors charged more than 110 individuals in connection with various fraud schemes in the state. Many defendants in the Feeding Our Future have been identified as members of Somalia's immigrant community. When it says many, I mean like a huge majority in some of it. One when they arrested 40 some people, all but like 4 were Somali. That was on one of the raids. And some convicted fraudsters used the stolen money for luxury purchases. Yeah. If you've seen some of the videos, these Somalis that had these fake daycares were driving Rolls Royces, Bentleys, and sports cars, all kinds of stuff. So they were pretty extravagant about it, and nobody noticed. Yeah, it's a good paying job. State officials have investigated whether a portion of it was used to funnel overseas and aid terrorist groups in Somalia and the Middle East. Well, we know a ton went overseas because Minneapolis Airport registered more money, more cash money going out than any place anywhere in the United States. It was all coming out of Minneapolis. Comer said Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz and Attorney General Keith Ellison are responsible for one of the most stunning oversight failures this committee has ever examined. It is now clear that the Waltz administration chose to protect the system rather than protect the taxpayers. And this fraud, as much money as it is, hundreds of millions or billions, whatever it is, nobody's going to jail, I guess, on the oversight side, the government side. I'm sure there's going to be some owners of these, fake institutions that are corrupt, that have taken millions and millions of dollars, are probably going to be nailed. They already have 110 individuals, but none of them being arrested is like Waltz and Company that watched it, enabled it, protected it. It's just crazy. Because all this federal money has requirements of, checking requirements. I remember the learning centers. They were supposed to check them every 6 months. And there were certain criteria about hours opening and if they had playground equipment available and all that kind of stuff. They had to go into a checklist every 6 months. In fact, one of the legislatures in Minnesota said, that's impossible. We check them every 6 months. Well, they went back and looked at some of the checklists and they found, yeah, we checked them. They had no children, no playground equipment. Send them a check. They didn't care. They checked them. They didn't follow any of the criteria. So I think it's more than just asleep at the wheel. It's willful enabling. The panel also probed alleged healthcare fraud in California and Ohio. as part of the Republicans' ongoing war on fraud. Now, I was listening to a speech the other day by J.D. Vance as he was talking about some of the fraud in California and some of the care centers that were for hospice care centers. Apparently, they just that business grew like crazy. Just hundreds of them growing. And one of the ladies that was working in the task force got to the microphone and said that they cut off 800 of those care centers, the ones that they're actively working, they're actively getting checks, actively submitting invoices, and 800 of them, they just cut them off because they suspected it was fraud. They suspected there was something wrong, so they weren't waiting around. They're going to cut them off and see what happens. Only a couple out of 800 called and complained the checks aren't coming. Only a couple. What does that tell you? I mean, I'm surely going to notice that the money that they're using to pay the bills and everything are gone. Assuming there was really a business, assuming there was really a building that they were renting, and employees that were legitimate employees, other than just family members or something or friends, and nobody complained, or just a few. There probably were a few legitimate ones in there. And so they took the calls and I guess worked on it. That was the whole idea. Cut them off, see what happens. And if you don't complain, you must not exist. They still need to go after these people for fraud. Vice President J.D. Vance is urging a full review of Minnesota's social service programs for potential fraud vulnerabilities, following the report's findings. Vance's anti-task force. Something else he talked about when he was giving the speech was that his state of Ohio also had fraud, that they found. But the difference between Ohio and Minnesota is that Ohio's working with them. And Minnesota, like a lot of the blue states and like California, are fighting and resisting all along the way like it's none of your business if we have fraud. Well, the federal government is cutting the check, not the states. The federal government's cutting the check. Well, they cut the check to support it. The states have to disperse it, and the states are responsible for checking to make sure it's legitimate. And there's a criteria that some of the states refuse to even talk to the federal government on how they're following it and sharing records. And the federal government's going to cut it off, and that's what Tim Walz screams about. Like in Minnesota, they've cut off some stuff, and he says, he's taking food out of the mouths of children. I don't know that there were children at the other end of that. We're taking away the payment on your Bentley or the money that's going overseas to terrorists, and it would be up to the states. And J.D. Vance said that, the states are sitting down and going through the books with them and showing them what's going on and cooperating and helping them find the fraud. And other states are not. And you can figure out which states don't. And that's where a problem is. I don't remember the numbers on California, but on some of the checks going to California, I know they're a big state and all that, but on some of that, they represent like half of what's going on in the country, which is impossible. They're not half the country. Let me see. JD's anti-fraud task force led to the arrest of at least 8 people who allegedly participated in healthcare fraud schemes and the freezing of $1.3 billion in payments to home health and hospice providers. I guess that was a big one, the home health and hospice. The Trump administration suspended nearly $260 million to federal Medicaid funding to Minnesota over Walz administration's alleged failure to crack down on fraud. The report also comes to the House, and I don't know what Minnesota's doing about it at this point. Are they starting to cooperate? I have no idea. I mean, you would think they would to get that money flowing again. Let's discuss it, but no, they're not right now. They weren't. They may do it now. The government losses estimates $233 billion to $521 billion annually to fraud, and that's according to the 2024 Government Accountability Office report. So it's not small. They know it's big. Let me see. my office is asking for a code. Let me get that real quick. And when I read that that thing from the one of my listeners, it said that Iran signed the nuclear proliferation treaty, and I didn't know when it was. He helped me with that. It was signed in 1968. Iran signed that in 1968. I didn't even know they had nuclear ambitions in 1968. That was during the Shah, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, obviously. Said he can't blame Obama. That's correct. I can't blame Obama for that. If they did that, but Obama had some other treaties with them on nuclear involvement. Somehow Obama was involved in some of that. Let's see. I'm having to look it up. The Treaty of Non-Nuclear Proliferation was opened in July 1st, 1968. Landmark Agreement, which was later entered into force on March 5th, 1970, was established with 3 primary pillars: non-proliferation, disarmament, and peaceful use. So I don't know the details. So that was something. Disarmament and stuff. That's when I guess that Russia or the Communist Bloc, Soviet Union, and us probably agreed to disarm a lot of it and neutralize a lot of it. Iran didn't have any nuclear options. Maybe okay, they just signed on to it then. And I know Obama had a nuclear agreement signed with them that they broke. That's the one I was talking about, not the NPT. And I don't know why Israel didn't sign it. I have no idea. I was in school in 1968. I don't mean high school. I was in junior high, 1968. I probably wasn't paying attention. You see I got a story here out of. Well, first I want to mention and I don't have it in front of me. I don't have it in front of me. This story about the doctor in Yuma. I covered it the other day, and it's out there. I learned a little bit more about it, but the doctor out there at the bio clinic is on $50 million bond. He was arrested, and it didn't really say for what, other than it was fraud. And I talked to somebody, and I'll tell you, this is allegedly it was Medicare fraud and stuff, just like what's going on that we're seeing. But to get a $50 million bond, I mean, it's pretty damning. There's something going on. And my understanding, he lives out in the county on the other side of Telegraph Pass. The doctor did and was doing a lot of improvements to his house. I just know his neighbor called me. One of his neighbors called me and said, a lot of contractors now are removing a lot of equipment from over there. I guess they figured not going to get paid. I don't know. I don't know anything about the guy, whatever, but I'm curious as to what was going on and whether the bio clinic was involved or was that just a doctor in the bio clinic or something. And there were some allegations made, told to me, and I haven't verified any of them, that some of it was obvious. The billing was obvious to him, but I don't know how they know that. I don't know what's public and what's not public, but like some people getting a lot of x-rays, the same person over and over again getting x-rays, of course, wouldn't be possible. It'd be dangerous. But I don't know. I haven't seen it all, but it's interesting. So if you have anything on it, and I'm sure we'll find out more, but it affects Yuma County, which was too bad. Something else in Yuma County is being affected is SNAP. And SNAP is that subsidy for food. And there's an article here about the food banks and all. And it mentions SNAP. It's not, but the SNAP participation is way down, it mentions in this. And it's created families are facing food insecurities, and that the food banks are getting pushed in a lot more demand and all that. And the article reads, as school closes for summer, many Arizona families are facing increased food insecurity. Food banks across the state report rising demand following a sharp decline in SNAP participation. approximately 470,000 fewer Arizonians, including more than 200,000 children receiving food assistance compared with a year ago. I had no idea. I mean, I remember when it came up about the SNAP benefits, I think it was in a budget deal, that there were 42 million Americans on SNAP. I'm like, it kind of surprised me. I said, how can there be so many on SNAP benefits? That's kind of crazy. Well, there was a crackdown that started, and in order to receive SNAP benefits, you have to be a citizen because it's a federal program. You can't get those. And I know there was a crackdown, so I'm assuming, and it doesn't say this in the article, that the reason that so many SNAP participation has gone down, that so much of it's gone down, I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with the fraud and cutting people off, or some where people didn't exist at all, and maybe some that were here illegal, or some that didn't qualify. I have no idea, but I'm sure it's an accumulation of all of it. Some people don't qualify, but still have food insecurity. By that, I mean, you may have a parent that makes good money and it's a gambling habit or a drug habit, and they don't spend money on the refrigerator. And that's still food insecurity for the children, unfortunately, but that does not qualify you for SNAP. Food banks will help you out for sure. The stats are 1 in 5 Arizonans face hunger, and more than 700,000 Arizonans rely on food banks each month. Arizona food banks report serving record numbers of families and rising food costs and reduced food assistance. Right. For those that were receiving it illegally, I'm sure they did. Let's take a phone call. Jonathan, you're on the air. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Russ. How you doing?
We're doing really well, man. How are you?
Good. Just making sure the channel's up and running good.
Oh, good.
And everything looks great, buddy.
Oh, well, that's good. And that's Q, C-U-E, Q. And that's there was a disruption for a little while, but everything's back like it should be.
Yep, 100% up and running.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it.
So well, anyways, we'll be seeing you out there in Yuma here in a couple months.
All right, buddy. I look forward to it. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
And that's Jonathan Townsend Alexander. And he does a blog on the border, and he was doing it on the border under Biden when it was just crazy, documenting things, going out there with his camera and doing that. And he got a lot of attention nationwide. And he became a friend, and I attended some stuff with him and all. And he's very interesting. Then when I started doing this recently without the AM signal, he suggested I get on his station. He's got a station called CUE, or it's an organization, and they sell subscriptions to cable subscriptions, but like you get everything for one fee. You get everything, HBO, CBS, all the stuff. I don't know all the details. I need to learn more so I could tell you about it. But in that comes this channel also comes with it. It does. And I know my picture, I got one-sided because Derek was in here, but then he had to run real quick. So I'm on one side. I'm not centered anymore. I don't want to get up and fix it. It's not electric. I have to get up and fix it. But anyway, getting back to SNAP. The school districts, libraries, and community organizations are expanding free summer meals. And we talked about the free summer meals the other day. It's not a new thing. It's been going on for a while. It's in Yuma. It's in most places. You'd have to call the schools and find out where all it is. I think it was in the elementary schools. I know that I read about the other day, and for certain, for breakfast and lunch, and I don't know the hours. It was like 8 to 1 or 8 to noon. I can't remember. You'll have to check that out. Kids are free. Kids are free for that, and parents could go and get it pretty cheaply, like $5 or something. Again, you'd have to check that. And this article that I picked it up on is coming out of Maricopa, but it does the same things because it's a federal thing. State officials cite federal rules passed on in the One Big Beautiful Bill, new eligibility requirements, verification procedures, and in efforts to reduce payment errors. And what that's talking about is the SNAP. That's why the SNAP is down. The SNAP participation is down. And it's the One Big Beautiful Bill because the One Big Beautiful Bill cut out the fraud. and said, you guys got to follow the rules. Here's who qualifies. It's not open-ended to everybody that wants it, including those that don't deserve it, those that don't need it, and those that are getting it fraudulently to do other things, to resell it. Yeah, yes, that's right. There's black market on SNAP cards. You can get a SNAP card half price. Because people get them illegally and then resell them. And no one was trying to cut back on it. No one, at the risk of having a child go hungry, we'll just let you fraud as much as you want. Well, then you bankrupt the system and everybody goes hungry. So the verification efforts have made a huge drop in Arizona. And I think this article is assuming that all of them were legitimate requests. Well, they obviously weren't all of them. They weren't all of them. According to April Brandom, and she's the president and CEO of Arizona Food Bank Network, food banks are already serving an unprecedented number of more than 770,000 people each month. So the added support to serve even more Arizona during the time is deeply needed and appreciated. Now, at a food bank, there is no check of anything other than you need food. That's it. They're not giving away cash, though. They're not giving away EBT cards. They're not doing any of that. If you're hungry and you need it, that's what the food bank is for. So that actually is food, and it actually is going to help some people. Now, some people probably need to get help because they got other issues, other than just mismanagement, drug addictions, whatever. Food bank's not going to question that. If you're hungry and you spent all your money in Las Vegas, they're going to help you. That's what they do. They help you. Well, we'll talk about getting your life ready later, I guess. You have to be 18 or under in order to get the free meals. And this is an article out of Maricopa, but I'm sure that's a federal rule. You see, it says, this article says nationally, nearly 80% of children in low-income households live within reach of a summer meal site. Yet participation remains significantly lower than school year meal programs. I guess so. I mean, a lot of kids at school go get lunch because it's lunchtime and they can't go home. Not because the food isn't there. They just not going to go home. So it should be lower. But I understand they're doing it for those that don't have it available at home. They feel like they haven't told enough people, and if they did, there'd be more people coming in to get the free lunch. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if there is or isn't. I would assume most everybody knows that that's available. I mean, they tell kids about it at school. It's usually there's PSAs everywhere. And if you're hungry, you're going to catch that one. But I don't know. Arizona border security. Leaders are debating the cartel drug trafficking corridors. We know they still exist. We know the corridors are still open. And Trump has had a big clampdown on the border, and they are boasting 0 entries. That doesn't mean they didn't put foot on the ground here. It means that they got picked up and they're not just in the wild. Well, we still know drugs come across through ports of entry, and we hear a lot of them that get caught. So when one gets caught, there were others that didn't. Probably. It's not that easy to catch. I'm surprised that when I read recently, the cameras noticed an abnormality in the firewall of a car. So I don't know what kind of penetrating radar or whatever they got that can go into that truck or car and find out if it's structurally been altered. But they do, they have it. And they can do that, and they can say, well, there's something wrong with your firewall, and then get a guy in there to take a close look at it and pull out a couple $100,000 worth of fentanyl. So I don't know how many are getting through. But I know they've caught stuff inside tires, where you take a spare tire and you fill it with some drugs. They got penetrating radar. They can find that too. So they're discussing it. And national and local leaders discuss the current situation. Sarah Carter, the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy under President Trump, highlighted that steady nationwide decline and drug overdoses and poisoning deaths, which is huge. Because, we hear numbers like 100,000 people a year were dying of overdoses, and most of that was fentanyl. Republican Congressman Andy Biggs, who's running for governor, he also stated that this state, the state of Arizona, has not yet experienced a downward trend, which is sad. But we're not joining the national trend of reduction. And it's due to its position as a primary focal point and a way station for the cartels supporting or transporting the illicit substances. So it still goes on. And I know the border wall, I don't know if you've seen it and see how much they're building, but it's going up every moment. I mean, there's more feet added to it. It should have been done a while ago, but Biden gave all the material away. It had to be repurchased and redone. But now they're putting walls up where they weren't going to begin with, but they found out it was foolhardy not to. In other words, they were doing it on like around between us and Tucson. They were covering that area between us and Tucson, the Barry Goldwater Range and everything. But they decided they didn't need to do some of the mountainous areas because nobody's going to climb a mountain. Well, apparently they do. They do. They climb it. They climb those hills and stuff. So they're doing more. It's continuing on, and a lot of areas are doing double fencing, even triple fencing down in Somerton. You see some triple fencing, and roads that go in between the fencing, the high-speed roads and cameras. It's still under construction. They're still going, and it's working. There's still drones that they will drop drugs and narcotics over. There's still stuff coming in on the cars and trucks and stuff. I mean, they catch them, so there's got to be some of them coming in. Some of them that do a better job of hiding it somehow, and some of it through ports of entry. And there's probably some coming across the desert somewhere. I don't know. Border Patrol's doing a great job, but have they cut it all? And apparently around Tucson, around the Indian Nation down there, it's a little tougher because there's not a fencing around there. Just like out here at Cocopah, there's not the 30-foot high fence. There's a Normandy fence. Normandy fence, just X's of metal, so you can't drive a car. They look like tank traps or something, but you can't get a car through there. You can walk over it. You can step over it, climb over it. It's only a few feet tall, but you can't take a vehicle. But the last time I was down there, which was just a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a few Border Patrol that were there. And of course, there's cameras everywhere down there. You're not going to move without having a camera on you. And there was regular Army down there. I have no idea what the Army was doing, but I found 2 campsites of Army down there. Not National Guard, but Army. And it was around the Cocopah area. There on the canal bank. But they asked me to move on. They didn't want me to stand there or be next to them. They were very polite. They were nothing rude or obscene, but they were very polite, and asked me to move on. And I was going to get the camera and take a picture of a vehicle. I still don't know what it was, but it looked nice. It looked nice. It was green. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a Humvee. It was something different. Some kind of off-road looking thing. Kind of cool looking. Rural Metro had to respond to a house fire on Ironwood Drive, if you know where that is, out in the foothills. It happened on South Ironwood Drive and 54th Street, so that's way out there, at 10:30 a.m., so right in the middle of the day, middle of the morning, anyway. Rural Metro said they found a single-story, single-family home fully involved. Yeah, it was. I saw a picture of the aftermath. I think that house was a total loss. It was gone. They had to deploy hoses and fire extinguishers, and Metro says they contained to the house of origin. In other words, it didn't spread to neighboring houses. That's scary. You say, "Hey, Mom, the house next door is fully inflamed." That can easily spread if you don't have the guys come in, the first responders. One person was taken to the foothills with minor burns. Foothills on Vida. No other injuries were reported. American Red Cross was contacted. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Yeah, because those people are going to need some assistance and help to get their feet back on the ground. And they don't, they don't have a place to sleep that night. It's kind of got to be a real shocker to the system that your house and everything that's in it is ashes. They're going to need grief counseling. Read an article on dementia. And I'm always interested in that because I'm getting older, and older people usually get affected by dementia. To my knowledge, I don't have it yet. Try and stay away from it. Well, according to researchers from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, they analyzed 147,374 adults. And they found that people that engage in moderate amounts of resistance training. Now, resistance training is like weightlifting, or could be push-ups, or stuff like that, or rubber bands. I don't care what it is. Resistance had lower risk of dying from several major causes, including heart disease and neurological disease. The findings were published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. People who performed between 90 and 119 minutes of resistance training per week had a 13% lower risk of death from any cause compared to those who did no strength training. I think that's good information. I like it. It's going to remind me to keep getting off the couch and to get out and do that. And I know so many people that do zero resistance training, and I think it's foolhardy. Something can be done. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be painful. The strained group also experienced a 19% lower risk of death from cardiovascular disease and a 27% lower risk of death from neurological disease. Get that? 27% lower from neurological disease, which is dementia is one of them. The dementia is a neurological disease, and it's included in that. So when you get a near 30% reduction by doing resistance training, it's worth looking. It's worth taking a look at. Researchers found that the greatest benefit occurred when resistance training is combined with aerobic exercise or cardiovascular exercises. So if you're doing both resistance training and something to get your heart rate up a little bit, you had a 45% lower risk of death. Yeah, combined the two, 45% lower. Now, the study found no additional reduction in mortality risk beyond the 120 minutes of resistance per week. In other words, you could do 2 hours a week and get the full benefit for this study, the full benefit of having the reduction in disease. You don't have to do, 6-7 hours a week. You could do just 2 hours a week of resistance training, and you could do that at the home, with a chair. Some push-ups and squats and stuff. You can, it's pretty simple stuff. A lot of it. The research followed participants for up to 30 years. So this wasn't a short-term study. They repeatedly tracked their exercise habits over time, giving researchers a more complete picture of long-term behavior. Josephine Hunt, she's an educational leader and a former group fitness instructor and the founder of Resilience Revolution, based in New Jersey, which I'm not going to go see her. She wasn't involved in the study at all, but she said the findings support a growing body of research linking strength training to healthy aging. And I think that's true. I've seen a lot more research on strength training. And it didn't used to be a big deal, the strength training. It was just more cardio stuff, jogging and stuff. The conversation about longevity often focuses on living longer, but I believe the more important goal is maintaining strength, mobility, independence, and vitality to full participate in life as we age. I think that's true. Because, living longer is a good goal. Living longer, not confined to a bed, is a better goal than just living longer. And I think that's what they're talking about. is you live longer actively rather than just living longer. And it looks like the cost of 2 hours of resistance training is not that big, but it's not easy. And I'm not saying it is easy. That's why I go to a gym with a trainer. Because if I'm at home, I'm not that disciplined. Because there's a refrigerator at home and there's lots of distractions at home. So I go to the gym, have a trainer yelling at me. No, they don't really yell, but they keep you on track. Hunt says the resistance training helps preserve muscle mass and bone density, and they're both combined. And I hate seeing those commercials about bone density where you have to take a calcium pill for bone density. The calcium pill's not going to get it if you don't have any muscle. The body's not going to build bigger bones unless you have a need for it, and that's because you're lifting stuff, moving stuff, resistance training. It also improves balance, overall physical function as people get older. For women, Josephine notes that strength training becomes especially important after menopause, when muscle mass and bone density can decline more rapidly. And of course, it does in guys too. It declines with age. Resistance training is not about bodybuilding, appearance, or achieving a certain physique. It isn't. It's about health. It's about staying strong, mobile, and independent with age. It's about preserving the ability to live on your own terms, remain independent, recover from illness or injury, and that's going to happen. And I know I look at that at people that have. In fact, we visited a young lady that I know from the church. I think she's in her 80s. She's fit she's very fit. She was at another lady's house helping her move, and she was holding the ladder for somebody that went up the ladder and fell on her, and she broke a leg bone. But we went and visited her. She looked great. She's up walking around. She's doing stuff. I mean, she's gonna recover fine, which is not necessarily always the case. If being physically fit helps in all of that. This study also relied on the self-reported, so it's not. I mean, it's as accurate as self-reporting. So if you tell them you were doing 120 hours a week, you could fudge it. I mean, that's what they're saying, is that it wasn't a laboratory thing. It was a self-reporting on habits, and it included white, middle-aged, and older health professionals, which may limit how broadly the funding is applied to the general population. I don't know if race makes a difference. I mean, it could. I doubt it. I doubt it. Oh, my another question from a listener. Is Biggs leading or lagging behind Hobbs? Every report I saw, Hobbs was leading, which is not. I mean, I don't know the makeup of the polls, and it's not the primary. So, in the primary, Hobbs is on. She doesn't have a competitor. Biggs does. So, in those cases, I mean, I think that always affects the polling. When you say, would you vote if Hobbs I mean, people that support Hobbs are going to say, oh, Hobbs will win. And the people that support Hobbs' competitor, I mean, Biggs' competitor, would probably say, well, if he's running, he probably won't win. Trying to get everyone to lean towards their candidate. So just keep in mind in the polls that's going to happen. So the fact that they're not too far apart means that who knows what reality is. Reality we'll find out after the polls will become more accurate after the primaries are over. But yeah, a few months ago, Hobbs was ahead, no matter who the GOP was selected. That's true. That's true, and I think that's the nature of things. When one side you're real contested because you got multiple people, and the other side is not contested at all. Remember when AZ was a reliable GOP state? Yeah, we've slipped. There's question. Texas was. Florida was the same way. They were red, and then all of a sudden they went purple. And it took DeSantis to get in to clean up fraud and abuse, particularly in Miami. The Miami voter fraud was huge, and he couldn't do anything about it at first. But these bureaucrats were kind of entrenched. But he's been able to pass legislation to have verification. You have to be a citizen. You have to have an ID. You have to the voting has to be over on voting day. They still have mail-in ballots, but those have to be in a week before. I mean, they have to be in the hands a week before the general election. So Florida became solid red again by fixing the voter problem. The voter. I mean, you say there's no voter fraud. I say there is. It's huge voter fraud. Just like there's Medicaid fraud. And I'm sure before it was all found out, people say, "Oh, there's no Medicaid fraud." Well, it's more rampant than we know. Problem is nobody was looking at it. Just like they're not looking at the voters. I mean, I don't even know how you can look at California, because California is completely undocumented people with undocumented addresses. How are you going to verify who they are or if they exist? You can't. I mean, it's so screwed up over there. You'd have to change all the rules and laws, but you've got entrenched the people that got into power because of those laws and rules. I don't, unless you do it federally, or until California starts dying on the vine, and the people get wise to it, and they say, we're killing ourselves because we're hiring all these people that are running us into the ground, with illegal aliens getting everything, and and people get punished that are paying taxes until they're chasing them out. When you chase out all the people paying taxes, eventually. I think it's the only way California's going to get fixed. Spencer Pratt's not going to make it this time. Maybe next time he even has more. I mean, Spencer Pratt wouldn't have gotten near the attention he did if the fraud and abuse weren't as rampant. Well, as it becomes more rampant, people will be looking for more alternatives, and maybe Spencer Pratt will be too big to cheat at that point. Right now, he's not, obviously, and even though he had a great lead, a big lead, and it looks obvious that there was some crap going on that was not legitimate, and they didn't mind doing it in daylight with everybody watching. Now, whether or not they can prove it, I don't know. I don't know how you do prove it. We'll let those guys look at it, but with that many votes coming in so rapidly, all going to the number 3 vote just to bump him out, just doesn't look legitimate to me. And I don't know how you check it, how you double check it, because the whole system's set up to have no trails. Brilliantly set up if you want to be a crook. I mean, I can't think of a better system ever to where there's no way to track it. You can register to vote from a portalet on an empty lot, and you don't have to show an ID, and you don't have to vote, and you don't have to show an ID to register. You just go in and say, "I'm Frank Jones. I lives by the portalet, and here's your vote. Here's your chance to vote." How do you check it for fraud? It becomes impossible. But don't tell me there's no fraud. That's just unreasonable. Nobody thinks that. They may verbalize it, but they don't believe it. If you leave Medicare open to fraud, you see what happens. If you leave voter open to fraud, same thing. Same thing. Senator Tim Sheehy, he did an article here where he's complaining about soft on crime judges and the consequences, and about a new legislation that he wants to put forward called the Jail Act, which I guess, and I have some problems with something like the Jail Act, and I haven't read it completely, and I don't know what's all in it, but I would be concerned about micromanaging the judges too much. But I understand the desire, because some of it has gone crazy. The soft on crime has gone stupid. on some of it. It becomes revolving doors, and I know the police officers and stuff get absolutely saddened by it and morale hitting. You put a guy into the system, and you see him the next morning doing the same thing because he's let go. We let him go. Well, this article that they put out, the first thing it does is go through a lot of the atrocities of these people that are career criminals that made national news because of the crimes, the horrific crimes. And the first one was that 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee that got killed on a train in Charlotte. The Carlos Brown just came behind her and just slit her throat, let her bleed out. I mean, just like a horror movie. Now he was released. He was arrested and released at least 14 times before he killed her. He has a history of mental illness. His arrest included charge for armed robbery, charged felony, larceny, breaking, entering, and assault. He was released and killed an Iranian young lady. There's, I think she was going to school. I think she was a student. And that just happened in August of 25. In May of 25, a 22-year-old Logan Federico, a young woman. I guess Logan can be, because that's Wolverine, right? It's Logan. Could be a woman too. She was visiting Columbia, South Carolina, and a man took her life, Alexander Dickey, allegedly. He'd previously been arrested 39 times with 25 felonies. Crazy. Last September, a 19-year-old repeat offender allegedly killed a man, 19 years old, and a repeat offender at 19. Killed a man while out on 3 separate bonds and on probation. So he's out on 3 bonds and probation, and killed Johnny Little. Oh, Johnny Little was the one charged. I'm sorry. Shooting and killing him at 19. He'd allegedly violated his bond at least half a dozen times and was released from jail. So he gets picked up because he's violating bond. They say, don't do it again, and they let him go again. They let him go, let him go, let him go. These guys are creating havoc out there. Let me see, an illegal from Sierra Leone, Abdul Jalan, with charge of murder, allegedly brutally stabbing to death a Virginia woman, Stephanie Minter, at a bus stop. He'd been arrested more than 30 times, including charges of rape, malicious wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, trespassing, larceny, firing a weapon, and just a revolving door. And there's a couple more, but the article and this senator says, when is enough enough? At what point do these judges learn from their past life-endangering mistakes and stop releasing dangerous, violent criminals back to our communities? For the sake of justice and public safety, we cannot continue allowing radical judges to prioritize criminals over innocents. I completely agree. To break the devastating cycle of violent crime, we must shut the revolving door of the criminal justice system that allows repeat offenders to walk free and disregard suffering of victims. And there's going to be a big pushback. There's a big pushback that will remind him that we have too many people in jail. Remind him that we have too many people that are minorities in jail. We can't put any more in jail, so we got to let them go. I've heard that argument before. It's ludicrous. I mean, we should look at each individual as an individual. Everybody that commits a crime is a criminal, regardless of what got them there. He says all Americans deserve better or true justice, not a system that minimizes violent crimes through early releases, lenient bail, or lax probation. So he's introduced this legislation to hold these judges accountable for their deadly consequences and their leniency towards dangerous criminals. So Judicial Accountability for Irresponsible Leniency Act, or JAIL Act. And here's what it does. It gets rid of the judicial immunity. Now, see, that kind of scares me. The immunity for federal and state judges allowing victims and their family members to sue judges and other government entities for releasing violent repeat offenders on bail should they go on to commit another violent crime. Now, see, I'd have to see more of it. I'd have to talk to more people before I could tell you I embrace that one. I mean, the immunity is for a reason. Because if anybody gets out on bond then and does something bad, you're going to get sued. It would just open up. I mean, lawyers would love this. The lawyers would have a field day. You know, hospitals get sued a lot for any bad outcome, regardless of who caused it or what's going on. Well, if you open up that floodgate, it just gets sued no matter what. It's a question, but yet I don't want these judges that are so lenient and so crazy, letting everybody go because they have some ideology that nobody should be in jail. Something needs to be done to them. I don't know if assuming the government's going to help any. I don't think they'll care because, well, it says immunity will be gone. That means they'd have to pay for their own lawyers. Well, who would want to be a judge after that? Because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people that love the system. He says it's long past time for Congress and our public officials to take a stand for America's safety and make the stories of violent offenders being released to commit more crimes unthinkable. Let's pass the Jail Act and finally implement the accountability Americans are demanded. I'd want to know more about it. I'm a little hesitant. I like the idea. I don't think it's wrong to want to do that. I just think it could be dangerous. You could cause more problems. I think. I don't know. I'd want to talk to some legal experts. AWC, and I probably mentioned this the other day. I'm going to mention it again because I like it. Dr. Ritika Dwan. She is the 10th president, and that was last week, actually. 10th president of Arizona Western College. And I know I didn't mention this the other day, but I didn't realize how long she'd been in the country. I've gotten to know her just through social contacts, chamber functions and things like that, which I used to attend a lot of them. I don't attend many as I used to. And she was always out there and just wonderful lady. And I heard nothing but good things about her at AWC. And she just took over as the president, which is great. And she worked for CORE directly as I think one of the vice presidents. She's been serving the college since 2008. And this article says brings both her insider perspective and a strategic vision for expanding the college impact on students' success, workforce development, and regional economic growth. I believe that's true. She's been a fierce, helper and expander of that college. She began her teaching career in India in 2001. She moved to the United States in 2007, which I didn't realize she was that new to the country. In 2007, and I'm sure I met her around that time, 2008 or so, probably. That's when she started working at the college in 2008. She started off, I guess, her first year teaching mathematics at the Parker High School. And then 1 year later, she joined AWC, serves as an adjunct instructor in mathematics, physics, and Dennis Booth. I haven't seen Dennis in a long time. District Governing Board Chair said, Dr. Dwan comes to the presidency as a dedicated member of the AWC family. Her experience as a faculty member and her deep understanding of our institution and the communities we serve position her to lead with insight, authenticity, strong commitment to student success. When she was innovative at AWC and was very helpful at AWC, and I remember hearing that she would get lots of offers to move to other campuses. People were offering her more money to go to bigger, better campuses. She wouldn't have it. She wanted to stay in Yuma and continue to help lead AWC. So we're very fortunate to have Ritika, wonderful lady. and she stayed in Yuma, which we're very fortunate, all of us, very fortunate to have her stay in Yuma. So yeah, go to AWC. I think it's a great college for what it does. Um, Community college that adapts itself to the community, that is putting on programs that the community's asked for, that the businesses have asked for, that they've needed, including police force, including hospital, nursing, that kind of stuff. So they're flexible and they work with steady. They work with the high schools. I mean, it's been a wonderful story since I've been here to watch that campus just grow, expand, and mold into what the community needs. And people like Ratika are part of that reason. I mean, there's a big team, but she's a very strong part of it. And now she's at the helm. A local nonprofit has launched a hygiene kit drive. Organizers say they want to build 1,200 kits filled with everyday necessities such as toothbrushes, toothpaste, razors, deodorant, shampoo, and body wash, and other hygiene products. And these are for veterans. The local nonprofit is calling on the community to help support veterans with these kits. The drive is aimed at providing essential personal care items because some of our veterans, unfortunately, are experiencing some hardships at times. Oh, my wife just sent me a view of my camera angle, and she's right. I've apologized for it because I moved it over so that I thought I was having a guest come in. No guest arrived, so I'm on the far side of things. Give me a second. I'm going to go move the camera. I should have done it an hour ago. Yeah, it was a manual labor thing. I had to get up and actually touch the camera. Thank you, Helen. You motivated me. These hygiene kits are gonna. It's an organization called Right Turn for Yuma Veterans, and its organization. It's dedicated to assisting veterans facing homelessness and other challenges, and it's collecting these donations to assemble hygiene care kits, which is wonderful. And it's being distributed only in the Yuma area, all over the Yuma area. Monetary donations are also being accepted, but they're asking that even donate the items that they just listed: the toothbrush, toothpaste, razors, deodorant, shampoo, body wash, and stuff. Drop-off locations have been set up throughout Yuma County in partnership with local businesses and community supporters to make donations as accessible as possible. Organizers encourage residents to contribute full-size or travel-size items to help meet growing needs. In addition to helping veterans, the drive also includes community incentives. Donors can enter a raffle for a chance to win one of 2 televisions by taking a photo of their donation and posting it on Facebook and tagging Right Turn for Yuma Veterans. And that's the name of it. You get on Facebook and look at it, Right Turn for Yuma Veterans. Now they're collecting these for another 9 days. The hygiene kits run through June 17th. The drop-off locations are Z93, Chapman Chevrolet, Nova, Wayfoot Bank. That's out in the foothills, by the way. Remax, Aloe, and Foothills Bank. So I got a few banks there, and they're collecting those items. If not, you go on the Facebook and see what you can do there, and maybe they'll have another way to do that. But it may have added to that list. That article's a week or so old. I just hadn't gotten around to doing it. I want to talk about an 80-year-old. See, I like success at 80. I think it gives me something to look forward to. Success at 80 is good. An 80-year-old Vietnam veteran, war veteran, just earned a college degree. You've heard about those things in the past. This happened. This happened in Yuma, I guess. It's no, Rome, Georgia. It says Rome, Georgia. I'm sorry. KYMA, I guess, did also put it out. But Chuck Whaley, an 18-year-old kid who studied U.S. history 50 to 60 years ago. So I guess the students around him liked the fact that they had a guy that was experiencing life 50, 60 years ago in the classroom, discussing ancient history. Chuck Whaley's the son. It's Charlie Whaley that got the degree. And he's the one that says the classmates were just fascinated by his life story. Yeah, we could talk about times. I say I'm not 80, but I can still talk about times when Microsoft didn't exist, computers didn't exist, flip phones weren't available. Couldn't even get a pager back then. In high school, you just had to be home when the street lights were on, Nobody knew where you were. Whaley said, when I was in school, the word computer was not even in existence. Still, assignments by assignment and class by class, he built a future he once thought had passed him by. He says, I've maintained a 3.55 and above his average. And he says he's proud of it. Decades of hard work and sacrifice and perseverance all came to one moment. Now, and I had to ask myself, like, why? Why at 80 did he decide to go back and get a degree? I mean, I don't think he's building a resume. I mean, maybe he's working, maybe he's not. I don't know anything about him other than what I read here. He said it was all about showing his grandson what perseverance looks like. How huge is that? Showing his grandson. And I think that's the best way to show anybody, grandkids, kids, and children, is demonstrate, doing it, getting it done. We expect them to go to school. And I remember my parents would, and both my parents were high school dropouts. Both of them were high school dropouts, and they did the best they could. They did the best they could. There were some things they just didn't know. They learned later in life. I think they kept learning. They kept understanding. But I remember as a kid, they loved each other. They were madly in love with each other. And I remember in the evenings, they would almost always be sitting in the kitchen, smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee. I mean, they just liked each other's company. They didn't want any kids around. They didn't like kids too much, Me and my three siblings, we kind of stayed away from them, but they were devoted to each other. But I remember my dad telling me everything I could do. You could be president of the United States in this country if you wanted to, and I remember all that. But that's not what I thought about. I thought about, well, when I grow up, I'm going to be smoking cigarettes in the kitchen, drinking coffee. Because we emulate our parents. We emulate. Now, I obviously had other mentors in my life that pushed me to go to college, and pushed me to go to things. It was mentorship, and people that did it themselves, and I learned along the way. That's how I had to demonstrate to my kids was hard work and doing the right things, because that's what they learn. They learn what you do. And this 80-year-old's figured it out. Charlie's figured it out. So he went and got his degree at 80 years old, his college degree, because he wanted to teach his grandson something. Want to teach him perseverance, want to teach him hard work. Great respect for that man. Great respect. That's the way to get it done. Demonstrate. Don't go tell your kids to go to college. Go to college and show them how to get it done, and show them what to do with it. That's what's impactful. Now, at church this weekend, Church for the City, Pastor Tyrone talked about foundations and foundational, and foundations about family and faith. and about the importance of having a father in the household, and the current state of affairs. Unfortunately, in the United States, we've got too many households without a father, but it's very impactful to have both father and mother. It's necessary, I think, for a well-rounded and understanding, and a father to be able to be there to show how to be a man in that case, and show how to get things done. And unfortunately, we don't have it everywhere, but mentorship's always available, and there's so many things available, and grandparents and all that kind of stuff to help fill those gaps, and to make sure and to take that responsibility, which more of us need to take those responsibilities and think about that, to set the right examples. Let's take a phone call. Ted, what are you up to, sir?
Are you still on the air?
Yes, I am. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Can I call you back later?
No,
I don't wanna-
absolutely not. No, I'll be off in 13 minutes, buddy.
Okay. Will you answer if I call you back? It's
Good.
important.
It's a good chance. Let me just call you.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
buddy. Take care, man. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'll take all those calls on on air. 928-941-0304 is the phone number. I didn't talk about. There's a couple things happening in on the border, in Yuma. Border security efforts at wall construction create competing pressures along the Yuma region. Mexican authorities found a cross-border tunnel into the United States. Those to get found occasionally. In fact, I took Miss Arizona down to the border the other day, and I showed her the Kentucky Fried Chicken that's still closed down in San Luis, right on the border there. They no longer sell chicken. It's owned by the Border Patrol now. They actually tunneled right into that Kentucky Fried Chicken, and through the what you think was a floor drain was a way to pass up drugs and things into that, and they finally found them. So it does happen. But it happens mostly, I imagine now would be, and it's expensive to build a tunnel. To build a tunnel is not cheap. It's not easy. It's dangerous. So you really have to want it bad. And with the border being more and more complete, it is. But Mexican authorities found one. A conservative group warned that secondary walls near Quito Binkadu Springs, they say that it's threatening a snail. Yeah, because that snails are confined to an area the size of 3 parking lot spaces, and you shouldn't. There's a conservation group that warns that the secondary walls will threaten this snail. I'm all for protecting the species and all that, but find them another home, maybe. Advocates push for a non-destructive design that preserves animal movement and connectivity for endangered species. Now, I don't know how many endangered species, and I get skeptical. There's been these organizations before that have shut down the dunes before in areas because you're trying to save the milk veg plant or something. They come up with something, Center for Biological Diversity. So they shut it down and they study it for years. And they find out that because they stopped using the desert with these off-road vehicles, the milk veg suffered because it needed to disturb it a little bit in order to spread the seeds. So they're actually killing it. But the Center for Biological Diversity didn't care. In fact, they had mentioned before to one of the people I know that was going to court against them all the time that, look, if we lose this one, we've got 10 more endangered species or whatever to shut it down. They just the mission was to shut it down. So I don't know if this preserve the animal movement for endangered species is really a real necessity, or if it's just these conservation groups that don't like walls, because we don't like walls either, and we think borders should be open. And I think either one of them could be the case. So I would be skeptical. Now they did make the wall where it's not solid. You got 3 or 4 inches in between each one, so Snails could travel through that, and small animals and stuff. You're not going to get a cow to go through there. But I don't know how much it's which endangered species is it? It's paramount that they cross the border in order to survive, and maybe something could be done for that. I don't know what that is, but I doubt it. I mean, a lot of the animals that migrate are flying animals, and that wall's only 30 foot tall. Most of the animals that take flight are going to laugh at that. Not going to stop them. I don't know which animals migrate that's on the ground that would need to say that the wall's going to kill out the species. I'd have to be shown something about that. Arizona lawmakers approve a bill aimed at cracking down on vape sales to minors. Vape. I remember when vape came out, and it was supposed to be, well, it's just water vapor. It can't hurt you. It's completely harmless. None of that's true. It's not completely harmless, and people have had serious problems because of it, serious illness because of it, infections and a lot of stuff. Well, and it got to where kids were doing it, and it got really radically big at first because it was craze and everything, and you get to blow this big smoke. You look like a locomotive coming down of water vapor, and people were smoking where smoking wasn't allowed because it was just water vapor. It didn't matter. So you were indoors, and it didn't smell like tobacco or airplanes or whatever. They finally shut it down on all that. It's smoking. I don't care if it's vaping or whatever. They said, I will grant you it didn't stink near as bad. Most of it. There's some flavored stuff, but when you're sucking all that into your lungs, you got to know you're bringing in more than just fresh air. So you got to think it's going to be a problem. And there was a guy that has lung collapse not too long ago. He was an avid vapor. He'd wake up vaping and vape all day, and he was an extreme case, but he had a lung collapse. House Bill 4001 includes restrictions on how these items can be packaged. So they can't have cartoon characters on them. And I think we went through that with cigarettes, didn't we? When they were trying to put like Joe the Camel or something, they had an objection to that. It looked cartoonish, like it was made for kids, if I remember right. And also celebrity images. You can't use celebrities to promote vaping anymore. That's what this law is, and they think that marketing expands the products to underage. There's also first-time requirements for state licensing and new penalties for those who are found to repeatedly sell not just vaping products, but also tobacco to minors, including a $10,000 fine and the suspension of those licensed to sell vaping products. Now, we've known that's in place for tobacco, and it has been for a lot of years. There's been local stores that have been, fined because they do have people go around the state that are working for probably the alcohol and tobacco and firearms people, and they'll have an underage person go in and attempt to buy cigarettes at a local convenience store or something, or a grocery store, wherever they're selling cigarettes. And if they do sell the cigarettes to that underage person, you get like a $10,000 fine. And there's some of them in this community that have been fined numerous times. Now they're going to add that to vaping also. Now, one of the ones that doesn't like the law, doesn't like it for this reason. The measure doesn't go nearly far enough. And that's Brian Hummel. Brian Hummel, he lobbies for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. Doesn't go far enough. He says we have a lack of resources to find offenders, offending retailers. Devices contain nicotine. States not imposing the same tax on cigarettes as it does on cigarettes. It taxes cigarettes and cigars tremendously healthy, and a lot of that was rationalized through the health concerns. I think the politicians just like taxing things myself, but health concerns. He says he says, I will urge Governor Katie Hobbs to veto this measure when it comes to her desk. Because his fear is that lawmakers, thinking they've solved the problem of teen vapor, will conclude they've done enough and see no need for future revisions. Let's do something next year. Now, I think that's really short-sighted. I do. So does Representative Jeff Winninger. Now, he guided the package over the hurdles and everything it takes to get to the legislature, get through the legislature. He compromised. He thought that the legislation was historic. He said it was the first time in years that all sides, including tobacco companies, vape manufacturers and dealers, retailers, and even the Attorney General's office, agreed to sit down, get behind something that they can support. He said HB 401 precludes future lawmakers from making other changes. He said, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing to preclude them from making other changes. You can add to it. You can change it. That's how you get things done in the legislature. You change that can get the necessary votes for approval. And that, he said, is something that Hummel doesn't understand. Well, Hummel's a lobbyist. You would think he understands. If he's working as a lobbyist, he would understand the legislature. I think that's a requirement, but I'm agreeing with the Representative Jeff Winninger here. He doesn't negotiate. Yeah, he doesn't negotiate. I get all or nothing. And I just think that's foolhardy too. Like, okay, I got half of what I want. Let's veto it until I get it all. I think it's a little short-sighted, at least from what I know on this, from this article. He also banned, he mentioned about what it'd be banned. He said vaping products also not be sold if they are designed to look like something else, like a school supply, a smartphone, a backpack, cosmetics, toys, or food, or beverage products. I didn't know all that was possible. And I'm only assuming they made the law because that's what people were doing, or vaping products were doing, is making it look, marketing-wise, like something harmless. It attacks the illicit vapes coming from foreign countries that we don't know what's in it by providing licensing. Now, they would have to be licensed, and I didn't know people selling vaping products don't have to be licensed. Apparently they do now, or would if this thing passes. The House Bill 4001. But if he got all those people together, you got both sides of the aisle agreeing with it. You got the district attorney agreeing with it. Attorney General. I think your chances are pretty good. You're probably going to be okay on all that. Well, I'm running out of time. Let me see. There's something I can. No, I can't. I don't have anything short and easy right here. So I'm gonna sign off. So be careful out there. Hydrate. It's hot. It's gonna be 105. Remember, we just had that kid die at the Grand Canyon. Don't be a hero. Take a break if you get hot. Unless you work for me. Yeah, just keep going. No, we make sure the guys, we take care of them out in the shop, and make sure that they take breaks and drink lots of fluids. Stay safe out there. I will see you tomorrow. This is Russ Clark Show. We're at Mortgage One Studios.